Good morning and welcome to the second meeting in January of the Pike County Fiscal Court. Before we begin, I'd like to ask everyone to please turn their cell phones off or put them on silent so that we're not interrupted. We have some, not a terribly long agenda today, but we have some important matters to take up. And at this time, I would like to ask Brother Jimmy Dale Sanders if he would say the invocation, please.
Let's bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for another day. Thank you for the atonements you made in our behalf. Remember this court here and the people that work on this court. Remember all the county workers. Bless us all, Lord, to do what's best for Pike County, for the future of our kids and our grandkids coming up. Bless the judge and the commissioners and all the county workers to all work together for the better benefit of Pike County. We thank you for all your blessings. In Jesus' name we pray, and amen.
Amen. Thank you, preacher. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Judge Jones?
Present.
Commissioner Robertson?
Here.
Commissioner Tackett?
Here.
Commissioner Booth?
Here. We have a quorum and we are ready to proceed. And I'd like to ask Mr. Rodney Holbrook if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, sir. Well, Mr. Holbrook, you have several folks with you from the Corps of Engineers, and I know you'd like to update the county. If you'd like to come up and have seats up here and bring everyone up. And welcome, folks. Larry, Brett, good seeing you all. Before we begin, Mr. Holbrook, if you would just introduce everyone here for the purpose of the record today, and then you have the floor, sir.
Okay. I'm Rodney Holbrook. I'm the resource manager at Fish Trap Lake. Brett Saggers, he's the assistant resource manager at Fish Trap Lake. Larry McGuy is our ranger, and we have one more Corps person, Glenda Robinson. She is an area ranger for the Big Sandy area for the Corps of Engineers. Recently promoted.
Well, congratulations. It's a pleasure having you all. And on behalf of the court, let me first of all express our gratitude on the work that you all have done with the fiscal court, Pride, and other organizations to try to improve Fish Trap and our community. I think this was probably the cleanest that we've ever seen Fish Trap. We had a lot of people commenting and we're just ecstatic after the spring cleanup. And that was not possible, would not have been possible but for the cooperation of the state. And we got Miss Lisa Evans here. The grant money that we were able to get from the state, working with the Corps of Engineers, it really made a huge difference. And I just want to express my gratitude. I know the members of the court, if you all would like to address that issue.
I just want to thank you all for helping us up there, and I know you all have had a big load over the years trying to keep that place clean. So I've had a lot of people tell me too that they appreciate what you all have done up there and appreciate what the county's done working with you all to get it done. I just want to thank you all for that.
Thank you.
I'm like Ronnie, just people in the community and even out of the county and the state too. I've had people tell me that what a great job y'all have done up there, keeping it clean and working good with each other, including the county, the court, and the Corps both.
Yeah, I want to thank you. I've had a lot of comments on how clean the lake was this summer, and people's been really pleased with how it looks and everything, and I want to thank every one of you.
Rodney, I know you have an update you wanted to give the court on the additional property that's going to be leased to the county. And why don't you tell us what your vision is? I think there's a retirement coming up.
Yes, sir. 9 days, not that I'm counting, but
It's a well-deserved retirement, too.
Thank you. The county, as you well know, is in the process of adding to the lease that they currently have. They're going to have several more campsites, or adding to their campgrounds, picnic areas. But we also, we may be looking at turning some of our other areas over to the county if you also decide that you want to do that. But I have to take the opportunity to thank you all for the unprecedented cooperation that we have had. In my 41 years in this business, 11 of it with the state and the county, and Floyd County, and with the Water Patrol and the State Park Rangers, and then 30 years with the Corps, I have never seen the level of cooperation that we have gotten from the county this last year, and from the state. Miss Lisa back there has came through with the grant, and we've utilized that money. You all have utilized that money in conjunction with our resources and the county's resources. And the lake truly is the cleanest I've ever seen it in 41 years that I've been associated with it.
Rodney, as we go forward, while you're enjoying retirement, I know you're still going to be around, and we may have to pick your brain from time to time, but what advice would you have for the court, and what do you think we need to do to improve the lake and tourism and economic development potential as we go forward? What recommendations would you give us?
Well, if I could, we've already, you and we have already come a long way in turning over the public image of the lake. It has been known as Trash Trap. It was known as Trash Trap when I started in 1979 with the Water Patrol. At that time, it was right after the 77 flood, and there was still quite a bit of debris. There were miles of debris on the lake, and then slowly that's been cleaned up. But my number one bit of advice would be to don't let up on this. It's clean right now, and it can rain tonight, and it will be a disaster tomorrow. And it can happen that quick, and don't not expect it, because we will have rain again. And keep the pressure on anyone that you can keep the pressure on. It all takes money. It all takes funding to get these things done. Nobody works for free, and it takes resources. So keep the resources coming. It can stay clean in between flooding events, but it takes some time. As an update on what we're doing and what we have in place now, we have a thing called an air curtain burner, which is an incinerator. And all of the man-made material, of course, goes to the landfill, but the naturally occurring material, the trees, the wood, all goes into this incinerator, and it will make quick work of getting rid of that. There won't be the eyesore when you top the dam and see the piles of debris there. We had to do that to wait for it to dry before we can burn it. This incinerator will allow us to burn it as we take it out of the lake, and we'll only have to handle it one time. So that'll make it quicker. Currently, there's a construction company in there building a concrete ramp that will allow us to increase the days on each end of the seasonal cycle of the lake levels, and be able to work drift quicker that way. Currently, or historically, all we've had is about a foot of water to play with. We could actually dip the products out of the lake, but this will extend that by weeks and by several feet in lake elevation, so that'll give us more time to work it. We also have purchased a long arm excavator, which will help remove the material from the lake. It's due to be delivered at any day. So we have a lot of, the equipment is in place. We have the knowledge, the know-how. The jail crew, the county workers have done a wonderful job in separating the man-made material from the naturally occurring material. Of course, we have to do that by law and by conscience. We can't burn the man-made material. So all the mechanisms are in place. Just keep plugging at it.
I'd like to ask Miss Lisa Evans from Division of Waste Management if she'd like to come up and have a seat. We may have a few questions for her too, because we received funds from the illegal open dumps cleanup grant program, I think is the correct terminology. Is that correct, Ms. Evans? Would you please state your name for us, just so we'll have it for the record, and the folks out here watching may want to know who you are, what you
I'm
do?
Lisa Evans, and I went to Division of Waste Management in Frankfurt.
And Ms. Evans, if folks out there watching, has been instrumental in helping us get grant money to help clean up some of these illegal open dumps. And, you know, after we leave the meeting today, I've got to get with our enforcement officer over the weekend. I had several people send me information on other illegal dumps. But it would seem to me that with the tourism potential, and it's something that the members of the court have been adamant about developing Fish Trap, is that every year we're going to have to dedicate a portion of our this grant money that we're getting. Assuming that money stays there, we can keep accessing that grant program. That we need to use that to clean up the lake annually, and it's going to take cooperation with the court. I know with this incinerator, it's going to be a huge asset in terms of keeping the naturally occurring debris out of the lake. One of the things that I think that you and I probably would agree is that after we had the meeting several years ago when I was still in the state Senate about trying to do something with the Division of Water, coming up with some solution to try to catch the debris when it comes into the lake. What's your opinion on that? And do you think that would be something that would be feasible to do?
I think it's something that's feasible, but I also would have to question its cost effectiveness. I don't know how many millions of dollars that would have to be spent on whatever kind of device or barrier or something that would try, that would stop the debris. We tried, the Corps tried 30-some years ago and put a barrier up the lake with some steel cables and buoys, and the first time the water got up, it snapped it like it was twine. I'm sure something could be done, but at what cost?
And have you all been using the skimmer boat?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We do. Yes. I'm sorry, I didn't mention that, but it's still, even though it's 20 years old, and it's showing its age, like I am. We're still operating it, and it takes a lot of maintenance, but we're working it. And it works exactly as designed. It's very effective. But the trouble with the fish trap debris is it's not just the floaty man-made material that's out there, which the boat is designed to take care of. It's also the trees. So instead of having a vessel that can eat the garbage and bring it back with one person operating it, it takes three, and two of those guys have got pike poles and chainsaws, and they have to chunk the wood up, actually cut it up, get it small enough to load on the boat. So,
Well, we do have something we'd like to say, and I think on behalf of the Pike County Fiscal Court, we want to thank you for all that you've done for Pike County, for the lake, in helping promote our county over the years. Even though you're a Floyd Countyan, you're an honorary Pike Countyan, and we can't express our gratitude enough. We hope that you have a wonderful retirement. It's well deserved. And before you go, we have something we'd like to present to you, and I'll read this to you here. With our greatest appreciation, we hereby honor Rodney Holbrook, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Fish Trap Lake Resource Manager, for 30 years of exceptional leadership, dedicated service, and unwavering support of Pike County. You will be greatly missed. All the best for an amazing retirement. Presented by Resh Jones II, Pike County Judge Executive, Ronnie Robertson, Commissioner, Jason Tackett, Commissioner, and Brian Booth, Commissioner, on this January 21st, 2020. Thank you very much, and congratulations.
thank you.
Get a good picture, I don't know. We have a better camera, so. I had to turn my stupid phone on. No, I'm not gonna get one.
Ron, thank you very much. We appreciate that. And Larry and Brett, welcome. Always, do we know, Rodney, who's going to be the new resource manager? Has that decision been made yet? Well, if you all need anything from the Corps, in 9 days, after Rodney's gone, you let us know. We'll be happy to do anything we can. And we look forward to working with you in the spring toward making sure the lake's clean. Thank you all. The next item on the agenda is we have on there receipt of Mountain Water District's 2020 budget. I think we're going to pass that to the next court meeting so that we can have Mr. Sawyers and Mr. Mike Spears, the district's CPA, as well as Mr. Johnny Dennison, who's one of the board members and also a CPA, to discuss their budget and their capital plan that they have already presented to the PSC. So we're going to, if there's no objection, we'll just pass over that one. Then we have Pike County Clerk Rhonda Taylor. Ms. Taylor, if you come on up to the microphone, please. And this is for purpose of acknowledging the county clerk's budget that we have. And Ms. Taylor, please proceed. Is your microphone on?
Okay. How is everybody this morning?
Good.
Good. Thank you for having me back.
We received this budget this morning, and we didn't have it over the weekend. And Mr. Stacy, have you had an opportunity to look at this?
Like you said, Judge, we just got it this morning, but I have looked at it over the last hour or so. I know at the last court meeting you had asked me to go and meet with Rhonda and look at some of these numbers. Some of the changes that I'd recommended to her were kind of like the misleading numbers on the prior year budget that was presented last time were actually budget numbers. They weren't revenue numbers up there where it was the 2018 and 2019 calendar year numbers. She had replaced those now with actual receipt numbers for the year and took out the budget numbers. One other change I see is that she took out her estimated receipts. We had actually got her numbers for the last 5 years of her actual receipts, and she now has budgeted what she had actually collected last year, so that's another change I see. She is still asking the court for a supplement to cover her prior year surplus. The supplement she had asked for last time was $325,000. She's asking the court for $60 now. And then her expenses do balance to offset that estimated revenue number. So,
Rhonda, I think the issue that came up at the last meeting was that the numbers that we were given were just inaccurate. The budget amounts that were set forth in your initial budget of $1.696 million in 2018 revenue and $1.135860.78, those numbers were about $700,000 incorrect. They were $700,000 off of what the actual receipts were.
It's because they were based on budgeting practice that's been handed down from the 80s and the 90s.
Well, I mean, and I'm not pointing the fingers at anybody here, but, you know, you're asking the court to supplement it. And, I mean, just looking at this, we had obvious issues with it, you know, from the numbers that were presented, because just reading this, you know, this, well, you don't use projected numbers in this document. You can read it. Well, I don't know, Rhonda, here's what I'm trying to tell you, and I need you to listen to me for just a few minutes. And let me tell you my concerns here. we are responsible for making sure when we acknowledge a budget. I looked at these prior budgets, and this is not anything, I'm not sure how it was done under the prior administration. If I'd been the county judge, I would never have approved acknowledging those budgets because the numbers were wrong. Well, and Rhonda, I understand that, but there's been a lot of things over the last 20-some years in this county that have been done wrong. Okay, and here's what I'm asking you to do. Now, you've asked us for $60,000. This court is not unsympathetic to the fact that you've had to make cuts, that you're like us, you're having to shoulder more pension costs. There are things that are beyond your control, but there's some things we have questions about too. Now, it's my understanding that the legislature, back last year, raised all the fees for the clerk's office. Is that correct? You got that document? Because one of the things when we're doing this budget, would you run back and get my iPad on my desk for me, please? Some of these fees, I think it was, here it is right here, Jeannie, I've got it. And this is something that I think that we need to know if this has been factored into your budget. And it would be really easy to do because I think we could go back and look at the data from the last 2 or 3 years to see how many deeds were recorded, how many marriage licenses were issued, how many powers of attorney wills, and all these different transactions. And here's what, this was an article on the, from the Davis County Clerk's Office. And it noted that the filing fees in Kentucky's county clerk's offices were going up in the first time in more than 12 years. And this was done by the General Assembly last session. It didn't get a lot of publicity. You had nothing to do with the fees going up. The fiscal court had nothing to do. But it notes that deeds go up from $50 up to $50 and extra $3 per page after 5 pages, when previously it was $17. Mortgages went from $17 to $80. Marriage licenses went from $33.50 to $50. Powers of attorney went from $17 to $50. Wills went from $8 to $47. Have you done any kind of analysis, or has Mr. Casey in your office done any kind of analysis to see, if you look at the transactions that you've done over the past couple of years, how much additional revenue these increases would bring in?
There's a possibility that may amount to about $20-some thousand.
Okay. It would be easy to
But
calculate.
it just depends on what comes through the door.
Okay, so that's
But
$20,000.
this new budget is designed to kind of offset that a little bit.
Okay, offset. So did you factor in an additional $20,000 in increased revenue from that into the budget?
It's probably going to take that to help cover the salary costs for what girls it's left.
Okay.
After I had to cut in this budget.
So-
It was requested at the court that I cut at least 2 positions.
Well, here's the thing that concerned us. When you asked for $325,000, you added positions that were not there. And in fact, you had budgeted in that budget.
I added a full-time and 2 part-times that we desperately needed, so
Well,
this new budget doesn't have that in there.
The issue that we had with that is we go back to those numbers on that first budget. You were showing,
I didn't bring that first budget with me because I've done away with it and worked on this new one.
well, I mean, a lot of your employer insurance cost was budgeted a lot higher than what we believe the actual cost would be. And
That's
then-
because we never know exactly how much overtime a girl's going to get, what kind of things we're going to be faced with.
Well,
I'm talking.
I'm talking about your health insurance cost.
You didn't say that, sir.
Your health insurance cost numbers change.
Our health insurance is really high, and we've got some quotes in the last few days. As a matter of fact, I got a new one in this morning, so I'll be comparing those two, and I'll be making a decision on that within the next few days, which insurance company we're going to go with. And we're going to save quite a bit, but we're not going to save so much as it's going to make that much of a difference in this budget.
Well, here's what we're looking at. And the numbers still, from the initial budget you presented, you budgeted, for instance, for your health insurance as 18,000. Then this new budget.
It's not really changed in this new budget because I don't know exactly how much we're going to save. I'm bringing in to you what we have right now, what we're working on right now.
Well, here's what I'm trying to we've had, last week to try to get to the bottom of this and help you get these numbers and try to figure out where we could save some money. I sent the deputy judge. He's probably got more business experience than anybody in county government. I
It
sent
was
Mr.
very helpful.
Mr.
He
Maynard.
and Stacy both were.
And I said, Mr.
Stacy was
Stacy,
helpful.
Mr. Stacy, who's a CPA now, if you switch to this insurance company, the one that we helped you get the quote from, you will save this year on health and dental $31,273.46.
We were told 24,000 and something.
I'm sitting here looking at the numbers. Next year, that savings will be $48,548.40. So that
We
alone.
had 39,000 for next year.
Well, that was on the health savings, but you have to factor in the dental too. So when you factor in the health and dental, it's $31,273.46 this year, $48,548.40. So here's what my recommendation is. We did not budget in this budget the $60,000. What my proposal would be that you submit a budget without the supplement in it. We can come back here when we do our budget in July, and we will know where you are. We will be able to look at your revenue halfway through the year at that point and have an idea of what you're going to be short. And if you switch insurance companies alone.
I don't think I'm going to be short, Judge, with this new budget.
Okay. With the $60,000, you may not be. But what I'm saying is, without a supplement, if you switch insurance and these additional revenues that you should get from the fee increases that the legislature passed, that would almost be $60,000. You said it would be about $20,000 on the fee increases, and we're talking about projected savings this year of $31,273.46. That's going to be close to $52,000 right there just on those two things without any supplement. So what I'm saying is we don't have the $60,000 budgeted. In our next budget, as we're doing it, Mr. Stacy can get with you and Mr. Casey and get with you, and if you need $10 or $15 or $20,000, that's what it looks like you're going to need, not $60. We'll have an idea in May when our budget is submitted, May and June, when we approve the budget, we would know exactly what your shortfall is. But I think the court wants to see what savings that you're going to have. I know I want to see what savings that you're going to realize from switching insurance companies. We've not seen this other quote. It may, in fact, be cheaper than the quote I'm talking about. Do you know who that was from?
I do.
Who was that from?
Transamerica.
Is that for health insurance?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you're the clerk. You have to make that call. But I think what the court is asking you to do is what we did, and that's just to see where we can find some savings on the health insurance side. I think the court is receptive to trying to help you out, but I think we need to see how much money we can save on the health insurance and dental insurance and what we can realize on the fee increases. I mean, obviously, if, mortgages are going up 400% from $17 to $80, a lot of these fees, some of these fees are tripling, some of them are going up. Wills, just to record a will, is going up about almost sixfold. So if we knew, we'll have an idea of what we're looking at by June in terms of how much additional revenue you have. And I would be amenable to coming back in this next budget that we do to see what the supplement actually needs to be.
When will you guys be working on your new budget?
We'll start about March, probably March, April, Frankie, putting the numbers together.
I really feel like, especially in the future, that we need to have a better line of communication between each other.
Well,
We actually need to do the jail's budget in March. We usually start on our budget right after that, so.
April.
Yeah, probably around the 1st of April.
Rhonda, we're willing to have a line of communication. And there's not a single member of this administration or this court that's not willing to help you. You've got a CPA here. You've got a deputy judge. You've got somebody who came from the insurance industry. We're willing to do everything we can to help you in the clerk's office, and we understand this. But all of us are having, you're talking about the county has some money in the bank, and we'll have some money in the bank. Some people say, well, that's a surplus. Well, let me explain this one thing because that statement was made. We're going to have to spend $5.5 million in the next 3 years to keep the landfill open. That's not counting the $10.5 million that we're going to have to spend for road equipment, that we're going to have to spend for solid garbage trucks. We've got a new phone system. Our phone system, we're having to buy parts for our phone system off of eBay because they don't even make this system anymore. I mean, a lot of these things have been overlooked. The can's been kicked down the road. A lot of our capital infrastructure has not been taken care of. We've got, I think, over 100 pieces of property that the county has to take care of. We insure 400 vehicles. People don't realize that. Justin, what's the actual number on the number of vehicles?
It's 443.
We insure 443 vehicles. That's the fiscal court vehicles, that's solid waste, public works, the road department, all the volunteer fire departments. I think Shelby Creek Rescue Squad, senior citizen centers, sheriff's office. I think we even insure the vehicle that you have at the clerk's office. So
I could never understand why you did, but they said it only cost about $13 a month, so they picked up the cost on it.
But when you insure 400 and you have to pay,
I understand.
Your insurance.
How many employees do you all have for the county?
It's over between the jail and the fiscal.
209, Judge, with the jail.
209, and that's way down.
What have you got outside the jail?
Well, it's 209 including the jail. I don't know exactly that. It changes day to day. People quit, people get hired, but that number is down from.
We started at 230. We're down to 209. Without the jail, we run about 152, give or take.
So our numbers are down just like your numbers are down, and that's unfortunate. But with the pension cost, I've talked in this court repeatedly. One of the problems that we have is if we don't hire another person, if we don't give another pay raise by 2028, whoever sits in this chair, in those chairs, the fiscal court's going to increase. The pension obligation that the court has to pay every year goes up to over $5.2 million. So if you told me right now I had to come up with another $3 million just to pay pension costs, I think Frankie would agree it's not possible to come up with that, would it, Frankie? And our options, we did not raise property taxes because of the economy. We know what people are going through. And it's going to be a struggle even with the rate increase to keep the solid waste department open. Like I said, we're going to spend $5.5 million to expand the landfill between now and the end of this term. So we're not unsympathetic to your situation having to lay off people. We've had to make a lot of cutbacks, and we're scrutinizing every penny that we're spending. We've had to incur the cost of starting a safety program that should have been done years ago. We had to deal with the fact that nobody set money aside to expand the landfill. We're 3.5, 4 years from the landfill closing. Nobody has set one penny aside. The sheriff's had issues. He's got vehicles he can't keep running. He's spending a fortune on some of the vehicles the sheriff's having to use. So all these issues are coming to the forefront, and I think that we're going to see when we talk to the Mountain Water folks next week at the next court meeting that they're having problems as well. And we're losing population. Those things are going to affect the fiscal court, and they're going to affect the clerk's office. And we're here to help you. And if you will submit us a budget, we can
How far ahead will you need this budget? Because I was just told to bring it, before to put in your packets.
Well,
so how much time do you need to review a new budget?
If you can get us a budget with no supplement, right now, we will absolutely look at what your needs are in our next budget. Because we did not budget that. And, one of the reasons is I've got your budgets back to 2015. And it looks like that in your first year in office, there was some money that had been budgeted from the prior fiscal court for $220,000.
Yes.
You spent about 130 of that, and you carried over 132.5 as a surplus into the 2016 budget. But in 2017, in 2018, and 19, those budgets for those fiscal years were done by the prior administration. We're in the 2020 budget cycle. That's the only one we've done. And in that budget and in the three preceding budgets, 17, 18, and 19, and the 2020 budget we did, those four budgets, there was no supplement for the clerk's office. And, you know,
That's why we have that deficit.
and you know, but the situation we have, Rhonda, is we don't have anybody to subsidize us or supplement the fiscal court. We have to make these numbers match. We have no one to go to. If our numbers don't match, it means layoffs or cuts. Cuts to fire departments, cuts to senior citizens, cuts to, the animal shelter. Those kind of things get cut if we get down at the end of the year and we don't have the money. And that was my big concern coming in. It was this court's concern is that we were going to have to make massive cuts. We didn't have to do that. We parked every take-home vehicle. There's not a member of this court or an employee that has a take-home vehicle. Not one person. We have shopped around our insurance. We hired a purchasing director because nobody was watching what was coming in. Nobody was watching what was going out. We had everybody in the county government buying stuff with really no checks and balances. Nobody was shopping it around. Nobody was checking to see if we could get it cheaper somewhere else. And our responsibility to the taxpayers is to make sure that every penny that's spent is spent wisely and frugally, and we get the best benefit for the dollar. And we are willing to try to help you with this, but we can't do it right now because it's not budgeted. We need to see where we are at the end of the year. We need to see where you are. We'll know about where you're at because by the time we pass a budget, you're going to be halfway through your budget cycle.
I'll know where I'm at too.
So, you're only starting this budget. You're only 3 weeks into it. Well, another 4 months down the road, we're going to have a better idea of where you are on your numbers, and we can come back and look at that, and the court can make an informed decision. Somebody said, well, you subsidize the sheriff's office and the jail. And I do want to address that just briefly. The jail is our obligation. It is part of the fiscal court. We have to incarcerate people who are charged with crimes. That is not an issue. That is a matter of public safety. It is a law enforcement function. But what people don't realize is we're subsidizing the jail at probably the lowest rate that we have in many, many years. We do subsidize the sheriff's office because we've got 787 square miles of land to police. We've got numerous schools. We now have a deputy sheriff in each high school. It's a large county. We've got to have deputies at ball games. We've got to have deputies at public events to escort funerals, to serve summonses and warrants and other complaints. It's important that the sheriff can do their job. And I do think there is a difference between the clerk's office and the sheriff's office because of the law enforcement and public safety function. We will be amenable to looking at your budget to try to address whatever shortfall. But I think the court does want to make sure that we're saving what we can because we know this year you can save $31,273.46. Next year, $48,548.40 at a minimum. And we've not seen the Transamerica quote, but at a minimum, by switching insurance this year and next year, you're talking about almost $80,000 in savings. And that would go a long way to covering this shortfall that you're thinking you're going to have. You have anything?
Well, all things I'd like to say is we don't care a bit to work with you. I think it's good that we work together.
I think it's good we work together too, Brian.
Yeah, and then when you come down, if we see what you got, then we can help you so you don't have a shortfall. I'm just,
That's much appreciated.
We definitely want to work with you.
You know I like you.
Well, I appreciate that. I like all of you all.
I like you a whole lot. But if we can get on a little bit better playing field where we can help you a little bit, I think it'll benefit the court and it'll benefit you too.
Jay, I thank you.
I'm the same. We talked after we was first elected and, talked about things. And just as we get through this, ready to start this next budget, just bring it back. You'll know where you stand in your budget, and you can bring it back to us, and we'll see where we can help you at. But by not budgeting nothing put nothing in the budget for this year, it's hard to do that.
Well, this is kind of like a deja vu moment because I've been through this kind of before. I do have another budget prepared. I left it downstairs because I kind of figured I wouldn't get this $60,000 before I came up here. It doesn't have any type of funding whatsoever in it. There's 2 employees cut. I think the insurance, I don't know if it's left the same on there or not. I can't remember if I told Doug to change that or not, or if it automatically adjusted it, the way he's got these spreadsheets put in. I will go down and get it. I'll bring it to y'all, and y'all have got plenty of time to look over it, okay? I want to say before I go that I'd like to thank all the citizens out in the county. I received a lot of phone calls and a lot of messages, and even some from outside the county since the last fiscal court meeting. And they've expressed a lot of support for the clerk's office, and I'm real humbled by it and appreciate it so very much, more than they'll know. And I want everybody to know out in the county that any steps I have to take, I'm doing it because I would need to, and that my staff and I will continue to work as hard as we can to provide them with what services that we can. And I thank the court for their time.
Ron,
I've not asked for a bailout, and regardless of polls that are going around on the internet and bloggers and what have you, a lot of people are misinformed and they just don't understand how a lot of this stuff works, and they want to criticize people, but we're all doing the best we can. You know, in jobs like this, you have to get a thick skin. You have to be able to let it roll down your back and not take it personal. It is what it is.
try raising the garbage bills on 20,000 people and see how popular that makes you.
Well, I can tell you right now, it makes you not popular at all. I know, because I hear it a lot.
Yeah,
but, you do what you have to do.
We're just all
Make it
fighting a
go.
hard battle right here.
Right.
I mean, people doesn't realize what it takes to run this county.
That's true.
You know, and
It's a big county. Land mass wise, it's just a big area to have to cover. Our population is not exactly. We have a lot in our county, but not compared to some counties that are smaller than us. They have a bigger population, but
Ron,
regardless of our land mass or our population, we've all got an obligation to the people that elected us to work together as a team, and that's what we need to do. And I'm all in.
Rhonda, let me throw something out at you.
Sure.
If you've got a few days to work on this budget, why don't you let Judge Hickman and Frankie come down, Mr. Stacy come down? I don't know that you need to lay off 2 people.
I was asked to do that, Judge.
Well,
I've done what you all asked me to
well,
do.
if you laid off 2, it puts you clearly in the black. Okay.
Yeah, that's a
But what
balanced budget.
But what I think that we should look at is the number of transactions per person to see how your transactions have been doing.
That's not going to really make any difference transaction-wise because no 2 transactions in our office is the same.
Well, it gives you.
And there's no other. Do you get transactions from other offices?
Well,
Do they bring them in and let you all look at them all the time and go through all their books and stuff all the time?
Ron, here's the thing. No other office does the kind of work that you do.
That's
I mean,
right.
the sheriff's office does it, the jail does it.
We all have something different that we do. And it all looks easy from looking through the window, but get behind there and it's totally different. Even what you all do, it looks easy. They say, oh, they only have to show up for a couple court meetings a month, but it's 24/7, 365. I know, just being a clerk,
If
and
you,
you
but why don't
all got a tough job.
But I think what they proposed to you is if you did lay 2 people off.
That's the only way I could balance a budget.
Well,
without the supplement, without that $60,000, that is the only way to balance.
Well, I disagree with that. Because in your budget, this budget you presented, you didn't budget the health insurance savings and the dental insurance savings. This is not budgeted in
No, because it's going to have to offset the hours that I probably may have to, I don't know for a fact.
But that's not
possible cuts in hours to keep these wages. We have always been, and we continue to be, the lowest paid in the courthouse. I have fought for that office ever since I've been there, tooth and nail, with not just you all per se, but even with the previous court, to try to get our fair share and to do the things that we need to do to serve the citizens. I've took every step possible that I know to do. Now, I'm working with you all. You've asked me to present a balanced budget, and I have. The only way I can present another balanced budget is to lay off 2 girls.
If you budgeted these savings on the health insurance.
See, but we don't know what's going to come through the door, Judge. You don't know.
I understand that. That's why
But
it's a budget.
anything that we get additionally, we'll work with it, and we'll send you all your all share of it. When our fees go up, your all's fees go up.
If you budgeted the health insurance savings that we know you can get in this budget, it will be almost half of the deficit this year and 80% of your deficit next year.
I'm going to change insurance companies,
Okay.
but now I don't know where we'll be at the end of the year because the revenue, I've got the same amount of revenue coming in this year that I had coming in from last year based on the figures that you all needed. I don't know if that amount of revenue will actually walk through the door, regardless of whether, you've said it yourself. Our population's going down. We've all said it. We know.
And
we
Ron-
know. It's not getting bigger. It's getting less.
So Rhonda, in April, can't we look at the shortfall then?
You can. You can.
But we need to budget these health insurance savings. If you budget that, you're not going to have a 60. And if you make these health insurance changes now and budget that.
Listen, without those 2 girls, even when I make if I continue to keep the 2 girls on, even with the cut in the health insurance, even with the budget proposal that you're referring to, we will probably, more than likely, maybe break even.
And we can look at that, and we can always go back and revisit that. But I think
Every time I have to come back in front of the court to amend or change or anything, which I don't have a problem with it gives a bad perception to the public because, when you budget something or you have a plan of action that you're following and it doesn't go like it really needs to when you have it in the first place when it really could. It could go the way it needs to go, but it's not accepted, and then it's not accepted, and then it might be accepted. Again, that's where that line of communication comes in, that
Ron,
we need to work together a little more.
I fully agree with that. But along those lines of communication, when you come in and you ask us for $325,000, it is by far.
I only asked to keep 1 year. I asked to keep the 25% that was brought into our office to try to get all these things paid, keep the office going. I may not need it next year. I may never need it again. I may not be back in front of you for the rest of my term.
Ron, if you have a $60,000 shortfall, the court was wondering, if the $60,000 shortfall, why are you asking for $325,000?
Because I've made you aware that more than likely it will be $60,000 a year based on the amount of employees that I have right now.
But $325,000 would be over 5 years of that shortfall. I mean, so
if you do the math on it, it's kind of averages about $60,000 a year.
Well, 6 times 4 is $240,000. That is not even comes up. But you do a budget annually. You don't do a budget for 4 years. And I've served in the General Assembly. I've done budgets.
I understand that, Judge. I know that.
But what I'm saying is that was one of the big questions, and we want to have a line of communication.
I think that the thing that's happened between all of us, and especially with you, is that the budgeting process is something you're all not used to. That was passed down to us. And it raised red flags to you.
Rhonda, I served 18 years in General Assembly. Many of those years, I've served on multiple conference committees where we put together a $20+ billion budget. I served on appropriations and revenue. The way this was done was obviously not correct.
That's what I said. It's raised red flags to you because it was passed down to us to estimate based on how we would like to see the office run is what we were submitting to you. But that's not what you all are requiring. So we're willing to follow whatever it is, this particular procedure with the correct amounts in it.
What I would request is that you give a budget to the court.
I have it prepared, Judge.
What I'm saying is present to us a budget that factors in the health insurance savings. That will almost make up the $60,000 shortfall. Just the health insurance savings. If your fees that come in, we've got your fees here, and I've got the fiscal, your office's fees, and I can go over those with you real quick.
It's not necessary to.
Well, I think if you look at these fees over the years,
I went back to 215, and I went over them with Frankie, and the amount of revenue that we have coming in has pretty much, if you adjusted it out, stayed about the same, has it not, Frankie? It was up and down a little.
The revenue, the 75% account, and this was with the $220,000 budget. So if you take it, $220,000 your first year, if you take that out, it would have been $118,000.
Okay, you take 118 and multiply it by 4.
Hang on a second. 108. I'm sorry. It was 1.118 million. I left the number off. Was what your revenue for the 75% account was in 15. In 16, it was 1,129,000. It was 1,137,000 in 17. It was 1,046,000 in 18, and it was back up in 19 to 1,084,000. So it's staying about 1.1 million.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's safe to figure it's going to be somewhere near that. And if it comes in below that, that's not your fault. There's nothing. When you do a budget, I learned this in Frankfurt. They're projections. If you have less people walk in, you don't have as many transactions, as many cars tagged, your number's going to go down, and we will have to look at that to make you whole. That's something that's beyond your control. But when we realized that there were savings out there of this year and next year of roughly $80,000 just on the health insurance, if you'll budget that goes a long way toward fixing
That $80,000 is if you let us on your all's plan, we could have saved right at $80,000. Otherwise, it's going to be, I think, $24,000, he said, for this year. And then to take us into the next year, it would be $39,000 and something.
The numbers we have, Mr. Maynard, do you want to address that, please?
Yes, there's in talking to Philip Hunt, who represents CAECO, part of the reason that the savings is about $27,000 for the health this year is because in December, we really need the paperwork to get the quote for the HRA plan. Basically, that's our plan that she'd move on to. That plan costs her $14,000, I think it's $14,303 a month. And part of that, you have to budget for the HRA. So the HRA building into that, we increased it to $15,000 a month. Fortunately, that plan, she cannot get on that plan right now because they only do that plan in January 1 or July 1 because of IRS reasons.
But this current one, he said, would save us $24,000 between now and July, right?
Wait just a second. So what we had to do is build 2 plans. We had to do a replacement plan from February 1 to June 30th. That plan would save $7,789.26 through those 5 months. Following that, we would then move her on to the HRA plan, which is $15,000 a month. That would save an additional $19,534.20. Now that total savings for 2020 would be $27,323.46. And it's projected to be $39,068.40 in 2021. And then you've got some stuff that we can do with the dental plan.
Now, the only problem that comes into play is that you're going to have $500 per person up front in a reserve.
No, that's why it's $15,000 a month. You're building that reserve over time. Because you got to understand that HRA, you can only use that for procedures or anything done at the hospital. That doesn't apply to any office visits.
But it has to be
medication.
available for when they need it, though, right?
Well, yes, but you're building that over months. So your first payment, you've already built in the HRA. You're already building.
So in the
starting very
first payment, it would have put in $9,000.
Nope, first payment, you'd put in about 500, that covers one employee. We don't have a lot of people that meet that HRA requirement to be used. I don't know what the number is, I'd have to defer to Frankie, but I can tell you based on what I know, this year, we've had maybe 8 use it total out of all of our employees, and that's because they had heart attacks. So, I mean, you're building that over time. That's why you're budgeted at $15,000 a month. Your actual premium's about 14,303. So in order to build that HRA, we just increased it to $15,000 a month and called it
And that would cover 3 employees at $1,500.
Well, you're going to build it every year. You don't have to come up with $1,500. You don't have to come up with $1,500.
If they use it and want it, I will. If 3 employees have to go to the doctor and have to have it, I'll have to come up with it.
That's true.
That is true.
And if 6 employees, or what if everybody down there had to go to the doctor? I'd have to come up with $9,000.
It's not, they don't get it because they go to the doctor. They get it if they go to the hospital and have a procedure
I mean,
done.
it could happen. It's a possibility. You can't rule it out.
A lot of things could happen, but that's part of building that reserve.
Yeah,
And
but
all you would have to do, if you had to come up with that money, it's very easy to fix it, because all you do is pay less premium going in. So if you had to come up with it one month, just reduce your premium down to 14,303 to cover that cost, because that's your actual premium.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
See what I'm saying?
But back to the budget issue. Like I said, I have a budget prepared downstairs. Y'all got plenty of time to look over it. There's nothing in it. There's nothing in it, so there is no reason that you couldn't approve it, really. There's 2 employees cut, and not asking for the 60. And, of course, you know, like I said, there's a possibility. I don't know. I'm going to try my I hate to say this word, but I'm going to try my damnedest to keep it open. And we're going to work as hard as we can. So, do y'all want that budget?
Rhonda, here's what I'm telling you, is if you will budget these savings, you won't have to lay anybody off.
Yes, if I budget those savings, that is only enough to cover, and not even enough to cover that $60,000.
Okay, let's back up. You're talking about saving this year.
Yeah, 20, he said 24 something, and then it
with the
equals to like
health,
39. So that's still $20,000 right there, plus 2 employees that it costs close to $50,000 per person.
With the health and dental
With health insurance, with Medicare, all the taxes, retirement. That's about the average per person in most places. I don't know what it is in your office.
The numbers this year, health and dental, is 31,373. Next year's 48,548. And what I've just told you, that, and every member of this court has said.
Yeah, but next year it will be time for a new budget. This time next year.
Would you just let me finish, okay?
Yeah.
We're willing to help you. I think we've shown that. And I'm telling you, I'm sitting here telling you that we're willing to look at what you might need to make your budget whole in June.
I understand that, Judge, but I have to submit a budget right now that has to be passed.
What I'm telling you is, I don't think it's necessary for you, if you'll make these health insurance changes.
That's not enough.
We will come back and look at this halfway through your fiscal year. And then if you need $15,000 or $20,000, $30,000, I think the court's willing to do that. But you've got to show us that you're willing. I mean, there's
Judge,
an argument.
I am willing. Right here's proof that I'm willing. You said in the last court meeting, help me to help you, and I'm trying my best to do that.
And one way you can do that is to go ahead and get this insurance change done immediately and budget that. If you budget these savings, it takes your deficit down by more than half. Then this court can come back in May or June and try to address that for you.
We will help you.
We're
promise.
trying.
We'll help
One
you.
of us is
I
sitting here
appreciate
with you.
that, but for right now, I have to give you all a budget that is going to work. And the budget that I'm submitting to you will not work without.
But it doesn't mean to lay those 2 people off right off the bat. I mean,
I have to go by head count in our office. I know you think we don't, but we really do. If I say I've got 10 employees, that's what I gotta have. I can't have 12.
So
I
what's
can't
the
keep
difference
13
between
going.
now-
I have to go by whatever it is that it says I have.
What's the difference between now and in April when you get back with us as we're doing our budget to try to get you some money? What would be the difference?
March, April, that would be about, probably about $20-some thousand. But I appreciate the court, and I thank y'all for your time. And I'll go downstairs and get you that budget.
All right, we'll be here, and again, know that that's the road that we should go, but you're the clerk, and we'll be happy to support you on it, okay?
Well, now, Judge, that's not the road I want to go on, but that's the road I'm kind of forced to go on to.
Well, I think the court is sitting here telling you that that's not the alternative that you have to take. We're sitting here telling you that in May, we will revisit this.
You're going to have to clarify that for me because I'm just not understanding.
This court has told you that if you would budget, gentlemen, am I correct that if she were to budget
This
these
court
savings-
told me on the last fiscal court meeting that you would work with me and you would try to cover that $60,000 deficit. You told me to work with Mr. Stacy, and you asked me to work with Mr. Hickman, and that's what I have done, sir.
And Rhonda,
I have come up with a budget that will balance like I was advised to do.
you can
There's only
cover,
two ways to make this budget balance.
you can cover over half of the 60,000 by changing insurance companies. I mean, gentlemen, am I correct on that? That if she would make that change and budget it, that we would cover?
$24,000 between now and the time that you have your new budget.
We don't have to have a budget in place till June 30th.
But I'm not coming back to present another budget to you until next January.
We can go back and you can amend your budget.
Why should we have to do that when we could work it out right here, right now?
Because we don't have 60,000 budgeted in this budget.
That's exactly right. I'm asking for it for the next budget. When you go in July, that's what that money was for. I know that you don't have anything for me from 2019 to 2020. I know that because I came before you when you all first took over, and I know that you don't have any money for me.
So, all right.
But it's okay. It's okay. We will do what we need to do and work with you all in any way, shape, or form that we need to make sure that we get a balanced budget presented to the state. And I'll go downstairs and get you one that has those changes made. And again, I thank y'all very, very much.
All right. We have, the next item on the agenda is approval to remove a portion of County Road 2542 from the Pike County Road System. Mr. Little, can you come up here for a second on this? The issue, there's been a couple folks that asked what portion of that Kewanee Road's coming out. Now, the area where it broke off is part of the FEMA disaster declaration that we had back in the spring.
Correct.
The estimate to fix it's about $500,000.
I think the estimate came in at around, I think it was actually 3 something, but Judge, honestly, there's no way that job can be done. I know that it will hit around 500,000 to fix that.
So if you're talking 500,000, the county's part's 13%, you're talking about 65,000 that's not budgeted, correct, Frankie? We didn't budget that coming out of the county money.
we did budget it, Judge, because we budgeted, that disaster happened in February. We did do a preliminary budget on that site, but I don't think the estimate was nowhere near even what, because I think at that time we were talking about drilling it and not this polybag system. We wasn't really.
So we didn't expect it to be as much as.
Yes, it was nowhere near in the budget, that amount. So, it was budgeted, but nowhere near that amount. Okay. I think we budgeted only 1.2 for that disaster, and I think already with the approved projects, with these polybags and everything, that we're over 2 million on actual.
So that's money out, that's a substantial amount of money. Yes. Out of, so you're talking 800,000, you're talking roughly $100 and some thousand out of the county's general fund that we had not expected to
Yes.
spend.
Yes.
And Judge, we still have several more sites to be done.
So what my recommendation was is this road did not serve any houses. There's no, from the area where it's broken off on down north on Kiwanee, there's no houses, correct?
There are no houses. Now, like the people who had came in before, I mean, it has been a through road, but no, there are no homes on this section of road. We're not trying to take out the entire road. The biggest portion of that road that is used is all blacktop, and that's the road that we're keeping. We're going to keep that all the way out to Marion's Branch where they could cross the new bridge at the 4-lane.
In the home that coming in on the Fords Branch side on the left before you get down to where it broke off, that will still be in the county road system, correct?
Correct, yes, that is still in the county road system, because actually, if we do what I've proposed, it would stop just past his driveway where it goes up, where it turns up the hill. That would still be in.
It would be my recommendation that we not spend $65,000. That's a mile and a quarter of blacktop we could be spending somewhere else. What's your all's recommendation on that?
I think we need to go look at it again.
We can do that.
See,
See,
we need to pass over this and
my issue, Judge.
next week,
and-
Fabian and I'll go look at it, or you can go with us.
I know it because I was up there when it broke off. I mean,
My issue, Judge, is that entire section that I had proposed to take out. Basically, all that is hanging out on a cliff. It's most of the time you have to look back up under the road to view the railroad track, and there's no way that road is deteriorating. There's no way you can guarantee if you fix this spot now in March when it rains, you may have another spot come up that's bigger or as big that will shut that road down again. And that was why I proposed this, because like you said, this, even though it has served as a through road, there are actually no homes that should be affected there.
you know, we had one lady from Tennessee that owns some property down through there that was concerned about it closing, but that property would revert back to them because they were the surface owners. I just don't see how the county could ever come out ahead by keeping it in there if we're having to spend that kind of money on it when it don't serve any homes. But you don't want to pass over it, we can.
Yeah, I'd like to, and we'll go look at it again next week, drive all the way through there.
Okay, that's fine.
So we'll pass over this next item on the agenda, which is 2542 Kiwanee Road. Mr. Fan, do you have anything today, sir? All right. Mr. Little, come on back up. We have in the packet of information that will be posted on Pike TV later today, the Pike County Commissioners recommended road maintenance list. And is there anything that needs to be added or amended on this by the commissioners?
I've already talked to Fabian about that one place on Stone Cold.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and we actually got the work order in.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sugar Camp,
Robson Group.
we did get in there to work on some of those. We've got 2 drains that still need to be installed to try to get some of that water on off the road. Well, actually, you and I rode up there and looked at them.
Yeah.
So we've decided to put 2 drains in there. So, I mean, it's still a work in progress, but
Did the guy ever call back on the cold patch?
no.
We need to contact him.
Yeah, we do, we're gonna have to find us some.
We-
We did.
He said it'd be later in the week, wasn't it?
Actually, that may be the guy. There was one who had called back, and it was $113 a ton, I think, if we picked it up.
That was in Louisville? Or did he find one closer?
No, it wasn't in Louisville. It was, forgive me, Jason, Commissioner. It was Ashland, I think. Maybe not Ashland. It was down that way somewhere, though. I mean,
That wouldn't be bad if we could go to Ashland instead of go to Louisville.
but like I
Pick it
said, I
up.
know it was $113 a ton.
Yeah, I know. I've got several roads in Blackberry. We got to
Yeah.
pothole patch.
I know you do, because Blackberry is one of them that we need to find some.
Well, we was kind of left in the dark on this because none of the locals left us any co-patch, was it?
No, we didn't, no, they said the Shelby plant didn't run any and the Ashland plant didn't run any.
Well, we probably just need to get the closest place and go pick it up with 6 for trucks, stockpile it up, and we'll have it.
I agree.
And Ashland will be a whole lot closer than Louisville.
I'm not sure it was, he had called, like I said, he had called and he left it was on a voicemail. I can go back and check the area where it was at. But I do remember that he said it was 113 a ton.
Okay.
A lot cheaper than bags, ain't it?
A lot cheaper than bags.
That's all I've got.
That's,
Only thing I got, I need an excavator.
Yeah, you do. I think Reggie and I had been working on that, but then JJ, I think, are we pulling the pump off from? Okay, so he's pulling the pump off from one to put onto yours to try to get you back on the road. But yeah, I know that his area has been without an excavator since but July?
June or July.
Somewhere. It's been quite a while.
Yeah, our ditches is needing pulled bad.
Yeah.
Anything else? Is there a motion to approve the Pike County Commissioners Road Department Progress Report and recommended road maintenance list?
motion.
A motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Booth. Any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is treasurer's business. Mr. Stacy, please proceed.
First item is to authorize checks for lodging, registration, and expenses for any employee who needs to attend the County Officials Training Program Budget Basics Workshop by the Kentucky Department of Local Government. They have a couple of available sites, so it would be up to the court to determine which location they want to go to.
Is there a motion to authorize checks for lodging registration expenses for the Department of Local Government budget workshop?
Motion.
A motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robertson. Any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes.
Authorize checks for lodging, registration, expenses for any employee who needs to attend the CAECO Insurance Forum. It's the same thing. There's different locations statewide, so it would depend on the location as to the date of the workshop.
Is there a motion to authorize checks for lodging registration expenses for anyone needing to attend the CAECO Insurance Forum?
Motion.
A motion by Commissioner Robertson. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Booth. Any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson? Yes. Commissioner Tackett? Commissioner Booth? Yes. Judge Jones?
Yes.
Authorize payment of the expenditure approval list dated January 16th, 2020, and any other utility and telephone bills received before checks are run. It is really high this month. It's right at 1.9 million. 3 reasons why. To explain over half of it is we have a bond payment due next month to U.S. Bank, which is $390,000. We have $440,000 to Guardian Retention Systems for FEMA work for 3 polybag repair sites that they've done. And $192,000 is for the discretionary money blacktop that they did on Road Fork. So that's a little over, but the discretionary money and the FEMA money are reimbursable, so we have to spend it up front.
When will we get that back?
The FEMA money is kind of it's a large project, so they will only give you an advance until they close out the project. So we'll get a large portion of that back once I do like an advance funding request. But until they close that disaster out and do the final inspection on that project, we won't get the balance. The discretionary money, we can apply and get an advance back for what we spent on that if we want to, or we can wait till the spring and do it all at once.
Well, I would think that we need to make that decision on the basis of what our cash flow situation
Yes,
is.
yes.
If we need it, we're going to have to ask for it. How long does it take to get it back if we get to where we need it?
If they don't have any issues with the request of needing additional documentation or anything, it's pretty like maybe 30 days.
I just don't want to get in the cash flow situation. I know we get a property tax check this month. We should get at least one, correct?
Yes.
And then we should get what, coal and mineral and occupational net profit.
And we're in the process, me and Jimmy are trying to get some hazard mitigation grants that we've already spent the money on, the money back on those. The purchase of the Judy Walters property, we've got like $400,000 tied up in, but we're still waiting on the title work and all the canceled checks before we can do the request to get that money back. And then we've got a severe repetitive loss grant that about $100,000 that we're trying to get that money back. So we're working on getting some money back right now that we've already spent.
And we'll get the solid waste bills out in the mail when? They're already out. So, I mean, I guess this goes back to my concern about that Kewanee Road project. I mean, we're spending a lot of money up front. Some of it we are never going to get back. So on that Kewanee Road, we have to spend that money up front.
Any large project or any of the FEMA projects, the only money they advance you up front is on a small project, which they consider $130,000 or less.
Did you prepare this week a list for the court and myself, Judge Hickman, a list of all the projects where we've spent money that we're waiting on reimbursements, whether it's flex funds, state discretionary road funds, hazard mitigation, FEMA, any other grants, any monies that we're due back, so we can get an idea on our cash flow and an estimated time when we can get those back?
I will, Judge.
All right. Because, I mean, when I start seeing bill lists of 1.9 million, that's...
I understand that's kind of why I was trying to explain it.
And quite frankly, this is why I've said it, and I'm going to continue to say this. This county could find itself in a cash flow situation that would be not very good in a quick,
From 1 month to the next.
from one month to the next. Because this is not something that I like to see. This is one of the highest ones we've had.
And like you said, we're getting ready to do the drill still in District 6. There's 14 drill sites on that FEMA project too. That's probably close to about 200 and roughly 50,000, depending on.
And we're going to have to be on the hook for 13% of that.
And one more polybag site.
So the 250.
Even if they don't do Kewanee, there's still one more polybag site.
So between,
Where's the other polybag site at?
Dry Branch.
how much is that one going to be? Just ballpark.
I don't remember.
So
Yeah,
between,
it's nowhere near like the.
Dry Branch on Lower Johns Creek? Where?
so between,
And then we've got that problem on that little hollow over there at, in between Kevin Prater's and, where the truck, we went up there and looked at it where it was breaking down in the creek. Hedge Road.
let me see. So we're looking at over 900,000, and we've already spent 2 million, and we're looking at another 900,000 on these 3 other FEMA projects.
We've not spent 2 million yet. Estimated on all the projects is about 2.1 on the February 19 flood.
Okay.
When we do this other polybag site plus the drill sites in District 6 is basically all the work still yet to be done on that flood. And then we'll be pretty much, there may be some blacktop after some drill steel sites or something like that, but that'll basically finish that disaster, all the major expense.
But we still got to pay the 13%.
Yes, but
So if
last month we paid almost 400,000 for drill steel work on that disaster for work we'd already done.
So we only get 87% back.
Yes, yes. But I will work up an advance funding request on that money as well, because like I said, a lot of those were large projects. And we'll just have to ask for advance funding for each individual project, so each one is a separate request.
But get us a list of what we've got out there that we can recoup on all these different grants and hazard mitigation and so forth.
Yeah, the money on the hazard mitigation should be the quickest that we could turn around to get the cash flow back in, because like I said, we're waiting on the deed prep and the cancel checks from the closing agent. And then we can just submit that and get our money back on it.
The bond payment that's coming out, which bond is that?
That is the 2013 general obligation bond. That's the one that paid for this energy efficiency project they did, plus the jail expansion. It got rolled, each of those bonds got rolled into one general obligation bond. So that got combined when they did a refinancing a couple of years ago.
We've got one bond that we paid off this year.
It got paid off in October, yes.
Which one was that one?
That was the 2012 refinancing bond.
Do you know, I've got this at the office, I just can't remember off the top of my head. When's the next one pay off? Do you remember?
The 2013?
Is it, when does it pay off?
It's probably another 5 to 6 years out to pay it off. We still owe, I'm thinking right at about $3.5 to $4 million on it.
Do we have another bond that pays off this year, though, a smaller one?
That's the only 2 bonds we have. We paid off one.
The
2013 we still have. The others are just leases.
Which is on the vehicle. Will we get the vehicles?
On the leases, yeah, on the vehicles, yes.
And when does that pay off?
I can't quote on I'm thinking maybe 3 more years on the solid waste equipment they bought when they bought those 6 packers and mini packers a couple of years ago. I think we're about a little over halfway finished. I think we were halfway finished on that lease when we paid off the mini packers.
Let's you and I sit down after this and just get an idea. I just can't remember off the top of my head. I'm
thinking maybe it was a 7-year lease. I'm thinking we're about 3.5 years, maybe 3 years.
Well, that's the problem when you lease garbage trucks or you finance them, is that they're wore out before they're paid off. And we've seen that. And that's why it's important that we be able to cash flow some of the purchases of this.
I agree totally, Judge.
You agree with that?
Yes.
Because we saw what happened when you finance garbage trucks for many, many years. You're needing new garbage trucks, and you're still paying for the ones that are wore out. So I'm really upset that we've got this kind of debt, and I would submit to you that, and we've got Mr. Justice here. I'm going to bring him up in a few minutes. We've got to find a way to cut some of these monthly expenses. I mean, if you look at what we're spending.
If you take off those 3 items, everything else falls in line with about what our normal.
I'm aware of that, but I've still got heartburn over what the normal monthly bills are.
Yes.
I mean that's.
Judge, we're paying $2,500 to haul leachate.
Well, we've talked to. We need to buy that truck.
We've already got it.
Well, the yellow ones are up there. Are they using it for leachate?
Reggie, we can use it for that too.
Well, I mean, that's what I thought. It was, well, I know they're using it to clean the road.
I know, how long would it be before we
I
can
think
get that
that
ready?
bill was, remember that emergency when,
Ronnie, that was when we
well,
had the
before you
problem.
bought the truck? This is the bill, like when they had all that rain and they had to get that guy to come in and help haul leachate.
Well, I mean, we've got a truck now, we can haul it
Got the
ourselves.
truck now, but I think this bill was for the work you did
December or
prior to you
something.
buying the truck.
The question is, the question is, and this is something I don't know the answer to, can you use the truck that you're using to water the road to haul leachate in?
If it's washed out, I don't see how it would.
So,
I mean, I know there's gotta be some kind of chemical you can clean it with. Yeah,
because I thought I saw that new.
but I mean, we've got sprayers and stuff to go on this truck we bought.
JJ, I'm gonna bring you up here in just a minute. Let me get this done, because I want to just give us an update on where we are in terms, we're spending a lot of money at the maintenance garage, keeping some of these vehicles on the road. I mean, a lot of different parts vendors that we're spending money on. And we're gonna have to try to find a way to really reduce everything from the power bill to,
On page 3, our marked judicial center, is that, where is that at? Across the street?
that's reimbursed, isn't it? That's reimbursed. That's reimbursed,
We get reimbursed on that?
because it's the
And-
judicial center.
The judicial center, first aid, 385, and then we've got on page 8, $10,036 on the boiler and water leak and repair heat. We get all that back too?
Any non-recurring project with AOC that's more than $2,500 is a separate request if above their normal maintenance. So if it's an item, a repair that's less than $2,500, they would just reimburse us back. But if it's a claim more than $2,500 for a repair, then it's something that we have to bring to the court. The court has to approve that we would go ahead and pay it, and then they'll refund that to us separately on top of the normal maintenance. AOC gives us 4 quarterly payments based on their budgeted expenses, and then there's like a settle up at the end when we justify what we actually did spend compared to what was budgeted. If we spent more, then they'll settle up with us. If we spent less, they'll take it off that last payment.
Do they furnish their own contractors for that over there?
Yes. And they're 100% reimbursable on any AOC-approved repair. So as long as the court and AOC signs off on it, then we will get reimbursed. But like I said, it's just something that we got to send the documentation in separate from our normal quarterly reimbursements from them.
Well, you know, we had Wilson Equipment, $31,000.
Fabian, does anybody, can we check and see if anybody in Pike County cuts bridge lumber? Harold White's?
The Wilson Equipment, that is the lease, if I read that right, is where they rented that excavator on that Pride cleanup project at the lake. and then that'll be on that illegal open dump grant.
So we'll get money back for that.
But I think they had it budgeted in that grant to do 4 cleanups this year, so they had to rent that long boom excavator 4 times.
At $58,842.94 to Southern Health Partners. What is that at the jail?
It's the jail's nurse and doctor.
Huh?
I said that's the doctor and the nurse for the jail. That's their contract for medical.
What page is that
Does
on?
that fluctuate up and down, or?
What page is that on?
I think they bill by the week, so it goes up and down depending on if there's like 4 or 5 weeks of billing on
35.
it.
Huh? Does it usually run higher than that, Frankie, or?
It just depends on when they submit bills. I mean, yeah, that's high for the month, but I mean, it's a contract rate. So if they submitted like 2 months worth of bills and they were behind on their billing, then it would be higher. It doesn't, I think it normally runs about 40.
It's about like
They
Mount-
may have billed for an extra week of service or something on a,
It's about like Mountain Comp in the jail. You don't know, you can't put a thumb on it, can you? From month to month.
right. He's got the contract for the actual yearly rate, so
25,000. That's for the whole county, everything we got. Unlike the judge, we're gonna have to try and find some way to cut some of these. Close to $2 million.
What's the total on that number, Frankie? That we're paying this month.
what's that?
The total that we're paying this month.
We're spending.
Count the regular bills out. We got some stuff.
It's about 800,000.
We got to get in the weeds on that. I mean, we're spending.
Like I said, it's
About
about a
800,000.
typical month, barring those other payments.
You know, Ronnie, Commissioner Robertson, we've cut our phone bill and power bill. We've worked with AEP to get
I
some
know
of these
Paul, yeah, he was working hard on the power bill, trying
things.
to.
You know, we worked hard to get the phone bill down. It's still, we've cut, what, about $4,000 a month off the phone bill? And it's still almost $10,000 a month. I mean, my concern going forward, as the pension costs go up, our health insurance, our workers' comp likely to increase, all the other costs that we have to absorb, it's going to get hard to cash flow this at some point. You know, and I just think we're going to have to look at some of these expenditures and try to figure out where we can save some money. And I know it's not easy to do, but I think it's time that we ask each of our department supervisors to do a thorough review of their departments, road department, 911, public works, pride, solid waste, the animal shelter, senior citizens, finance. I mean, we need to go through. I'd like to ask all the department supervisors that are here to get me a proposed list within 30 days of where you think that you could realize. I don't care if it's $20 in savings, where you think you can realize some savings. And we'll do the same thing in the judge's office. JJ, take a look at the maintenance garage. You know, one of the things we're looking at is, $10,000 this month for tires. I mean, there's just a lot of different we're also buying parts from a lot of different vendors too. So we just need to try to take a look. Landfill area, need to be looking at where we might be able to save some money. And within 30 days, submit it to Judge Hickman so we can take a look at potential savings. And I'd like to be able to do that before we start working on the next budget, at least have an idea. Maybe we could refine it. Commissioner Robertson and Commissioner Booth, Commissioner Tackett, are you all in agreement or support of that?
Agree.
I mean, because we are going to have money to bond the expansion of the landfill. Because I think Mr. Stacy, and I've talked this over, I think the prudent course going forward is to bond the landfill expansion, but pay as we go for our equipment.
I agree totally. That's exactly how I would see to do that.
Is there anybody, I mean, you all have any other different ideas on that? But for us to be able to bond it, we've also got to make sure that we can service the debt when we incur the bonds. When we issue the bonds, we have to make sure that that's not something that's going to put us in behind the curve in taking care of our other debt and so forth. So, all right, is there a motion to approve the bill payment list as well as any other utility and phone bills before checks are issued? And this is the bill payment list dated January 16, 2020.
Motion.
A motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second? There's a second by Commissioner Robertson. Any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes.
Last item I have would be to acknowledge receipt of the sheriff and the clerk's 2550 report for December 2019.
Do we need to do those separately or can we?
No, together.
Is there a motion to acknowledge receipt of the sheriff and clerk's 2550 reports for the month of, I guess this would be December 2019?
Motion.
A motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second? We have a second by Commissioner Booth. Is there any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson? Yes. Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth? Yes. Judge Jones?
Yes.
That's all I have.
Frankie, I have a question on these 2550 reports for the clerk and sheriff. I know I was watching a court meeting on the internet, went back several years, and at one point these forms were not submitted by the clerk's office. I don't know about the sheriff's office. Do you remember that?
Probably maybe about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, they started submitting 2550 reports. I think based on the recommendation of the auditor's office that the court needed to be aware of what the fee offices were spending.
But it helps us on the expenditures, but it really doesn't help us track their budget the way it's done. Is that
No, it's kind of like a running balance. I guess that's about the only way you can look at it. It's like a checkbook running balance at the state level because they pay their bills and take in their revenues.
So it shows
like for an example, Rhonda's 2550 report actually says 80,000 negative, and I was kind of asking about why that was different from the 60,000 deficit that we were hearing, but there were some actual revenues. When the state cut that report off, there were some actual revenues that hadn't posted in their books that had been deposited. So it's truly only actually about 60, and I think that's where she came up with their number, even though the state 2550 report says 80. So there is a lag time in both, depending on when the state cuts that report off. But it'll be reflected in the January report.
okay. All right. Anything else, Mr. Stacy?
No, Judge.
Did we vote on that? Thought we did. Trying to do two things at once. All right. Is there any need for executive session? Okay. Would it be the preference of everyone out here that we go ahead and take let's do this. Let's do executive session last so that we can get everybody back to work. I did ask JJ to come over. JJ, can you come up for just a minute? I just want to chat with you for a second. I asked Connie to see if you could get me a list of what equipment's in right now, how we are in terms of what's all out of service right now, what we're having trouble getting back in service and so forth.
Okay, I made a list of what I've got over there this morning, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, mini packers that is down. 2 of them are Dodge. One of them is at Moore's. It's been over probably a couple of months. The part for it won't be in till the 27th. And I've got another one at the garage that they don't want me to take over there until they get this one fixed with the same problem.
What problem is it?
Transmission. And it's under warranty.
When those things go out from under warranty, how many of them are still under warranty? We've got 5 left.
Well, like the running part, engines, transmission stuff, they got, I believe it's like 100,000 miles on them. And most of them's just got like probably at the most 60. Yeah.
JJ, is it fair to say that you can't keep the Dodges running?
No.
That's true, you can't keep them running.
No. No, when you can
Ronnie and I've had this, my dad's a big Dodge man. I'm glad he's not here listening to this. But,
when you take a
he left a few minutes ago, so
Judge,
we can pick on Rams.
Judge, you're missing the point.
I know. Here's what we're going to hear. Wrong truck,
right.
Wrong engine,
right.
Wrong transmission.
Well, the truck would have been all right if it'd been the right transmission, the right engine. The running gear.
And that's what I ask you permission, that I can look at Steiner's down there and find the wheelbase that we have wrecked over there, and we can put it on a Dodge 5500 with a diesel engine and an Allison automatic transmission, and we can use that truck.
So that's one of the reasons I wanted to. So let me ask you this, JJ. Is it possible, you and Ronnie know a lot more about trucks than I ever will, is it possible to take the garbage, the compactor unit off of it and put on a different chassis? There was no damage to that truck when it was wrecked.
The Packer, you mean?
The Packer portion.
No, there was no damage done to it.
And it would be possible to put that on another chassis.
All we have to do is make sure that it's got the PTO set up on the transmission.
I'm just saying, let's try one.
Would it be hard to switch it over?
No, not really.
So, it would make sense to me to do what Commissioner Robertson suggested. If we could find we've got to be down there. So if you find something that you think, then we can put a bid out for it. If it's over that.
I need the wheelbase on that front to rear axle, and I'll call and get that from you after a while.
Because you take an 09 and the beds will wear out on. I mean, we patched and fixed and patched, and the trucks are still running. The 09s are holding up better than these Dodge are. These GMCs.
The Dodges are 15 or 16s?
16s.
16s.
And, but everybody knows that's all we've had is trouble out of those trucks since we've had.
Well, the transmission's not heavy enough.
It gets hot.
And you don't have an engine in it either.
Stuff completely out of it.
So there are 5 left. There are 5 left, 5 gas jobs.
And we get two of the 5.
If we get a diesel and we try it and works out, are there any way we could work a deal where we could trade those into 5 used diesels?
Well, I guess what we could do is take those boxes off, because we bought them out of the lease. We could take the boxes off, go find us 5 chassis of some kind that we could put them on and save the money. Would that be the best way to go, rather than having to buy?
And I'm not talking about buying a brand new. We'll go down there and find, the trucks are working out pretty good that we found for the solid waste foreman. I mean, I think it's a no-brainer. I mean, we've already got the units, the boxes over there. Is put them on a truck that'll work and not stay broke down every day.
Yeah, I'll take that one we've got wrecked and go ahead and put it on a truck and, see what kind of project it is, getting it on and getting it to run.
And this is a big thing. JJ and them work their hind end off. They can't get time to work on anything else for working on these mini packers.
Listen, Chuck, what's your position on this? You don't have to agree with us, but what's your position about trying to?
Well, what kind of cost do you think these used trucks are going to cost us, Ronnie? I mean,
I'm thinking.
I figured low 20s.
Yeah.
That'd be fine if we find one that cheap, but you got to remember that these easy dumps that we got about 60,000 in them.
Yeah, we got
So
six.
I don't,
Well, this is the only thing I'm saying, Chuck, you're never short for a truck. I mean, you need one every time you turn around.
How many you got down, Jay?
We've got, 4 down right now.
2 of them's Dodgers.
Yes.
It makes the men stay out late, everything, it just,
Overtime goes up.
yes.
Let's try
I'm
this.
saying,
I just wouldn't want to invest too much in this, is what
well, I'm saying let Jason and I go down there, see if we can deal on it. Let's try one.
Which we need to need to put that bed on something anyway before he sets up there and runs.
Let's just try one and see if it works. If it doesn't work, we'll do something different.
Then we get rid of them all.
But I think it'll work. I mean,
Oh, we can still, I mean, we need the mini packers, but, what I'm getting at, I just, we gotta watch our costs on this.
Because when we got these 4 new dump beds, and we'll finish the other one up, probably be sometime tomorrow afternoon, because we got the truck back Friday about 2 o'clock. We're putting a bed in it, the last new one we bought today, and finish it up tomorrow. But, you know, I was in,
So that'll be for the easy dumps, right?
yeah,
That'll be
and I was
service.
in looking at, you know, taking a couple of these old trucks off the road. And you can't do it because there's somebody's down every day that you gotta try to keep another fixed to.
I
put it back
almost
another
think that
part.
we ought to go ahead and put another easy dump in as a backup.
I think so too.
So let's go ahead, Greg, if the court's amenable to that, and get bids put out for another truck and another easy dump bed, because when you've got 4 packers down, you know, there's probably, Chuck, would you agree that we need one of these easy dumps as a backup truck?
Yes, we do.
Frankie, I need you to look, to make sure we're okay on the numbers, that we can go ahead and do that. We should be able to on the solid waste account.
Ability to put that bed on.
Yeah, like they said earlier, Judge, annual billing just went out last week, so probably here in about another week or two, solid waste will start taking in more revenue than normal. So we should be all right.
Three that we gotta put the harness in, but we can't put them in for
But now-
keep the garbage trucks on the road.
JJ, you were saying on the Dodge, if we look, it needs to be a dual wheel.
Yeah,
Well, that's what I was gonna look at.
and we, you know what, I think we ought to try to find a truck we can put this bed on.
You're
before-
talking about the Dodge bed?
Yeah.
Well, let's see what kind of cost we're looking at on it. You know, if you're getting up in the $30,000-$40,000 range, you just might be better off just to go ahead and.
I mean, you could buy a new one for that.
I think we can go under 26.
So let's do this. We also need to be deciding when we're gonna buy these 11 yards. I mean, do we need them now?
We do need them, but, I mean, I'm just looking at getting 2 right now, one for the Johns Creek lot, one at the Belcher lot.
Have we put bids out on those yet?
I'm sorry, on what?
Have we put bids out yet for those 11 yards?
No, we have not.
Are we ready to do that yet?
We've been working on getting some quotes and some prices.
Trying to get some pricing.
Yeah, I dug up the specs on the 11, 12 yards over the weekend. So we're pretty close.
Any idea about what the ballpark is on?
Probably about 130.
130,000 each,
That's ballpark.
but we have to have them.
Yep.
Somebody put it to me this way: so if you don't have garbage trucks, you can't pick up garbage,
Exactly right.
and they're not free. They don't give.
Chuck, I'm not gonna waste your money.
Oh, I trust you on this, Ronnie. I just,
It's too hard to come by.
Maybe you can have half of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
Well, that's why he's gonna go through
Because
that.
you got 4 counting the blue truck Ikeys that we put a motor in a couple of weeks ago, and the motor's down again, which we're waiting on them. They're going to get us another engine to put in it.
So we got 4 trucks down that we use for snow removal.
3 of them.
Well, we've got 3 that we had, they've took off the solid waste foreman trucks to make a road department, salt trucks out of. That needs wiring harnesses and the blades and stuff put on them. But we can't get time to do that for trying to keep the garbage trucks and stuff on the road.
And look, we're better off if we can buy some new equipment. It will save us money on the maintenance. If you look at this bill list that we just approved, how much we're spending on parts.
And like you were talking, where we're using a lot of vendors, that's when we have to get something, we call all vendors to try to get where we can get it the cheapest. And that's where we get it from.
Well,
Did they
that's
used
where
to
I
do
think
that?
we can cut some.
Did they used to do that, or they just call whoever?
No, when I was doing the buying and everything, I always tried to get it where I could get it the cheapest. But a whole lot of things, you buy cheaper, you're just defeating the purpose, because you're going to turn around and have to do it again next month.
Cheaper's not always better.
Right.
So, Fabian, how many pickup trucks we need?
Probably at least 2 on each lot.
Well, honestly, yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, we need two per lot. So that would be 12. I mean, if I'm going to be completely honest, and if you ask me how many we can get by with, it may be a lower number. But, the problem is like Jay said, we've got 3 sitting over now that we don't have the plows on,
What do we need, 2,500?
at least.
Yeah, at least most of them are 35s they've got on the road, but these 3 that we're going to put plows and solders in are 2,500.
Do we have the plows and solders already over there?
Yeah, we've finally got the wiring harnesses in and stuff for those. But like
So-
I say, you got 6 men and you got 3 mini packers down every day, then there you go.
JJ. Go ahead, bro.
I was just gonna say, if we hadn't had the plows and solders, sometimes when you buy them, they'll put them in.
Do what?
I said, if you hadn't if we didn't have the plows and solders, a lot of times if you buy the plow and solders from the dealer, they'll put them in for you.
Well, where we get our plows and stuff from, they don't install. If they do, I don't know what it would cost, because we always done this on our end.
But
Well,
what
gas-
what you're saying is that you can't get work done because you're working on these mini packers.
Right. The solid waste, not only mini packers, the packers.
What else do you have in the garage over there right now?
I've got the excavator we started on this morning. We're taking the pump out of and putting another main pump in. Had to have, the 2 back stalls in order to change these 2 pumps out. We had an excavator off the landfill, Larry's, where it had the boom broke, and we got that back last week, and we put it on. My guys did that in probably a day and a half, put that boom on and got hit back out. And I've got a backhoe over there with a stab jack valve out of it. We've got the parts for it. That's supposed to be there this morning for it. That's Gary's. And Danny Branham's got his excavator and his backhoe over there. The excavator, we're working on it now, and we've got it in the garage. And that takes 2 guys to work on that. I mean, the best you can do, you gotta have 2. And it's, then you get a packer comes in, or a mini packer that's broke down, got a PTO rung out of it or something. That's a 2-man job there. You gotta take them off of that and put them on something else. But these mini packers, and all my guys can tell you, and Ronnie can tell you, because he's been over these mini packers, I mean, this is a phrase, actually Congress couldn't keep them on the road. Right.
Parts.
The hydraulic fluid's expensive,
Which
it just continues.
Which our hydraulic fluid has went down some, as far as what we're using. But then again, you're looking at tires.
Well, let me ask you this question. Are we better off trying to either sell or trade those mini packers, the Dodges, the 5 we've got running, and take that money and put it toward some of these pickups with easy dump beds?
Yeah, I'd rather have 2 of those as all 5 Dodge we got.
I mean, I'm almost of the opinion that, you might be better off just getting rid of all of them.
Because these guys ones I've talked to that's got these new dump beds, they love them.
Yeah.
They're like,
They do. But,
Don't have nobody
I
complain
don't
on
know.
they're realizing.
But still, we've still got that bed up there we need to put on the truck.
I mean,
Well, Judge's talking about like get rid of all of them.
Well, the one you got wrecked up there, I believe the insurance bought it back, or trying to, or whatever.
I'm not sure on that.
I think we recovered, they paid us for didn't we get the money in on the insurance on the
total one? The Dodge?
Oh, you mean the one that was,
Oh.
26,000?
Yeah.
No, we did not. Deputy Judge Hickman and I had discussed, and then, because that truck was totaled, we chose not to pursue a claim on the insurance to try and save money on the auto.
Premium.
Yeah. But if it's the court's desire, we can go back and ask. I mean, that's not a problem, it's still open.
The question we need to know, it's been reported to them, the question we need to know is if our premium goes up, how much is gonna go up? Is it gonna go up anyway? Because we've already had a bunch of other claims, you've had other accidents and other claims, and we do expect that there will be an increase on the liability and workers' comp.
Yeah, there's no question about the comp. That will go up. There's no question
We've had
about
too many
that.
claims, we've had, you know. So the question is, do you want to go back and turn that, I knew we turned it in, I don't know if we ever received a check on it, do you want to turn it in or not?
Those accidents happened after that kind of changed.
We've had some, you know, there's been some accidents since then, we might want to just go back and get that money, because we can take that money there and buy a chassis. So I want to go ahead back and let's revisit that, okay?
I can send it, after this meeting, I'll send an email and request the check.
Because JJ, I'll be able to put that box over on that truck in there, so couldn't you? If we put it on another chassis, the mini packer we got it's wrecked, we could probably get it on the road in a couple of days, couldn't we?
Yeah, if it is, you know, like I'm saying, if it's set up for a PTO, you know, our takeoff and stuff.
Well, that's the only way we buy it, it'd have to be set up PTO, you know.
Let's see what they've got, about what we're looking at, and we put a bid out for it, but I think we need to take a hard look at how much money we're spending on these mini packers. You might be better off at least auction part of them. If you could auction 2 of them and buy one of those easy dumps, you're better off. You know what I'm saying?
Those mini packers get expensive if they get some wire on them, don't they, JJ? I mean, you talking about jacks, hydraulic oil?
That's on the old mini packers, right?
Yeah.
I think they all need to be put out in the grassy bottom.
How many 06 and 09s we still got on the road?
5 or 6.
I mean,
And we've got a couple of 06s still running.
And I want to make this point. I don't know who, people probably tuned out by this point. We inherited a bunch of junk equipment.
Exactly.
I mean, and I don't think that's an understatement. Is that it?
That's true.
I mean, you know, we can't just keep throwing, if you look at that bill list on how much we're spending on parts and oil and all this stuff, the only way we're going to be able to keep this thing going is to find cheaper options. And I think those easy dumps, to me, that's the way to go, because you eliminate having to have PTOs. You eliminate having to have, you know, all the hydraulic oil and all this maintenance issue.
And the boys, they like them.
I mean,
they were surprised on how much garbage they would hold.
But you know what we could do if we get 26,000 on that truck, Ronnie? We get 26,000. That's half the cost. You know, instead of putting that old bed on it, 26,000, you're halfway to getting a new truck with an easy dump on it. And long term, to me, that's a cheap, huh? You be money ahead long term instead of going with these mini packers. I think we need to get rid of all the mini packers.
I'm in agreement.
I think that we need to transition because the maintenance cost is just too much, and I think long term, these 3,500 or F350 series trucks with the easy dumps is a cheaper alternative.
When I first seen it, I knew that was the way to go.
Well, I'm almost.
Let me ask you something, Chuck. What if a big packer goes down and you don't have no mini packers?
Then we got problems.
Huh?
We got problems if that happens. Yeah.
I'm talking about in between then and now.
Right.
And that's one of the problems that we've had, and I think it's incumbent on us, the fact that we did raise the rates, that people see that customer service is getting better, and customer service can't be where it needs to be until we've got a dependable fleet. You know, Ronnie called me, or was it Ronnie or Jason called me one night and saw a garbage truck on the road after dark. Well, they were out after dark because
Breakdowns.
you had 2 Packers and 3 mini Packers down or something like that, you know, you can't pick it up.
Nope. If you don't have trucks to pick it up, you can't pick
We
it up.
had a 16 model Mack down at Worldwide. It was down there almost 3 weeks
Just got it back Friday.
and got hit back Friday and got it back on the road. It was under warranty. What work they done is that
Well, I mean, and I think we're better off having these things that are under warranty, because those Dodges, at some point, they're gonna be out from under warranty. And I'd rather get rid of them when they got 60 or 70,000 miles on them.
Because when we have to start.
We
eating
sell them or
once-
trade them in or auction them or what?
I think we got Greg back here. Greg's been in the car business a long time. Vince has been in the car business. What are we better off doing?
Well, we're talking about buying these 11 and 12-yard trucks, and also we're kind of looking at maybe 25-yard truck. I think when we start bids out for them, that's where we need to look at trying to trade some of these in, some of the mini Packer Dodge trucks. I think that would be a good way to be able to get them. Because I'm afraid if we have an auction, it's just not going to bring any money. At least
Same way.
Trade them in on a truck, they will give us, some kind of book value for them, trade-in book value, something close to it, which would, I think would be a whole lot more than what we could ever auction them for.
You couldn't sell them at auction around here anyway.
No.
Chuck, how many easy dumps do you need?
Well, I don't know, Ronnie, till we start getting, we get a couple 11 yards. I want to see how they're going to do. I mean, it's hard for me to say until I see how the 11 yards do.
Yeah, so you got to remember those 11 yards when they were tested went 98% of every place that a Packer would go. So there's a lot of utility in 11, 12 yard. Because they.
But how can you fix the mini Packer problem?
Yeah, we got to.
You got Packer and mini Packer problems.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I tell you, to fix it, it's just gonna cost a lot of money.
Well, that's what
I just want Chuck to be able to have, if we got a truck broke down or 2 trucks broke down, he's got something to go to. They can go get in it and go ahead and pick the garbage up.
Let's do this. Do y'all want to go ahead and put a bid out for a mini Packer, or not, for 11 yard?
Put them out for 11, 12 yards and put those in there.
Can we afford it, Franklin? Let's go ahead and let's get bids out. Do you want 11 yards or 12 yards?
I put them both.
Yeah, we just have to bid them, see, because different companies offer different.
So before the next court meeting, let's get bids out. Hopefully.
And we'll pass on looking on that.
Well, this is on the 11 yard, but we still got to deal with this Packer issue. And Ronnie, you know more about trucks. Brian understands, knows what the needs are. That's not my cup of tea. I mean, I've not been in the trucking business. You all know what we need. You all need to tell me what you all think we need to do, because I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's just like Fabian needing some pickups. I just can't see you buying a brand new truck and putting a salt spreader
Well,
in.
no, if you do, that's like that red truck that we moved.
It's on the road lots compared to diesels and gas. Which one do you have in the garage the most?
Because honestly, in the long run, if you put that new truck and you put that solder in, if it's taken care of, you're not going to have all.
I
these
agree with
breakdowns.
that.
The problem
If
is,
you can make sure you take care of it.
Right.
the problem is that's not been an easy chore with the Pike County Fiscal Court.
No, it has not, and I agree. I
And
absolutely agree.
even since we've been in, we've had issues with
We have.
lack of maintenance.
we have.
I'll throw my 2 cents in.
I hope you're helping me.
We want you to do that.
You need to also undercoat these trucks when you get them really good. Spray the beds in, same one on garbage trucks. We have them underneath our spray and coated. That way they last longer. Pretty much all this rust.
And we've put, and just so you all know, we've met with all the solid waste foremen about our expectations on how these trucks are to be kept. And if we catch one employee that's not keeping it clean and not taking care of it, they're not going to be working for the county long, because we can't afford.
Well, there should be a reprimand just like anything else.
Well,
I mean,
abuse of
honestly, it should be.
equipment is a fireable offense.
I think Brian knows they use a certain kind of chemical to put in there before you put the salt.
Afterwards.
But here's the question. You all went down and picked out, we put the bid out for some of these, was it F-250s? So my question is, Fabian, do we need to look at, if you get a diesel F-250, it's got fairly low miles on it.
We can use that. And I would be fine with that.
You know, because it never made sense to me, that red truck that you had for a while, that they would buy a brand-new truck and put a salt spreader in. Because listen, you put a salt spreader on anything, I don't care how much water you put on it, you gotta wash it.
Yeah.
Those things are gonna rust out quick if there's anything that salt comes in contact.
But eventually, what I would like to see is I'd like to see us move away from the beds altogether. Just have a flatbed on these pickups. I mean, it would be more useful to me to have that than to have the bed. One thing is because we can use these soliders on those pickups would still fit on that flatbed. They're easier to wash, easier to maintain. You wouldn't have it holding that
Like a
solid
wood
into
bed,
that
like
bed.
a wood bed.
Well, you go to the aluminum bed.
Go to the aluminum
The
flatbed.
aluminum beds.
Aluminum flatbed. You know what I mean? And you just strap that solder down.
But this goes back to this whole capital plan. We've got a capital plan about what we need.
We do.
And what we need to do is at the next court meeting, be prepared to discuss that capital plan in detail and we need to figure this out. Greg can go ahead and get the bids out on 11 yards, 12 yards. We don't have to award them. Do you want to go ahead and get another easy dump truck and bid?
Yes.
Okay, so let's put another bid out for one easy dump truck,
I think, go ahead, my bad.
another F-350 and an easy dump bed. So that should take care of some of these immediate problems, but you've got a big problem here with this Packer fleet. You've got 11 Packers, is that right? They're out of order, or that are wearing, you got 3 2003 or 2006 and 3 2009, 5 2016s. And, you know, I just think that at some point we got to replace that whole fleet. And you could replace that whole fleet with easy dumps and pickups for half of what you spend on mini Packers.
So we don't need to look for
I'm gonna let you all make that. I mean, so you all have to make that call. I mean, you tell me what you think we need to do, and we'll do it.
You know, I'd say look for it, Commissioner, and see what you find, is what I would say. What do you think, Judge?
Do we need to
It
look
doesn't hurt any to look and see what you find while we're working on this other stuff.
If you just don't want to spend a
Right.
great deal of money on something.
If you don't, you'll lose your comparison.
So here's what
Yeah,
I'm
we'll
gonna say.
compare.
Here's what I'm gonna say. If you buy a used truck and you're gonna have half in it, what you could get a new truck and an easy dump for. You got to factor in too the labor cost, how much money it's going to cost to switch it, and how much manpower you're going to have. It's going to be taken away from your other maintenance needs. But I think if that equation gets to 50% of the cost of an easy dump truck and bed,
Be better off going new.
be better off going new.
And on the trucks with the beds,
Those Dodges are.
on the road department, Ralph Blankenship's got the fix for the
So that could be me.
salt on
salt
it,
trucks.
the way he fixed his.
There's me 5 flatbed salt trucks.
Well, you know, that's
You
another.
need 5.
Those Dodges.
What
that
he's
you all
saying
are
is
talking
take those,
about,
take the
just
beds
those.
off of
I
them.
think
Take
the problem with the Dodges has been the PTO is where
That's what I'm saying. I don't think
Hey,
if we
that's the
take
question.
bed
Is
off,
could you
why
put
couldn't we
beds on those
put a flatbed
Dodges and
on?
take the dump bodies
Could I
off
use
of them?
those? Yeah, we could put the
Well-
plow and those would be 5 solid.
they're two-wheel
And-
drive.
They're two-wheel
Commissioner-
drive.
Oh, they're 2-wheel. Oh, that won't work. That won't work.
No,
No, we
you
don't want
can't do
that.
it.
I'm sorry.
They're two-wheel drive.
Sorry, that won't work. But Commissioner Robertson
Two-wheel
and I
drive.
saw.
So you're saying if we took the bodies off
They're two-wheel drives. You
They're
can't.
2-wheel drive. That won't work. I thought they were 4-wheel. We couldn't use them for solders and them. And
What I'm saying with the newer trucks that we've got now, it's on the road department, and what I've looked at, Ralph Blankenship, the way he's got his solder fixed in there with those boards on it, that saves the truck more than anything I've seen.
It does, and that's one thing I was saying, those we want to look at maybe later on, is not even having that bed at all, just
Right.
having the aluminum flatbed put on that. We can use standards in the summer when we need to haul, take those off for the salt through the wintertime. But Commissioner Robertson and I looked at a guy who had a real nice plow for sale that we may be able to get for me, a snow plow.
Yeah.
It had the V, it would throw any way you want. That may not be a bad idea either, to at least entertain that.
He's the one that's got the dump truck that we were looking at too.
Would that go on the same truck?
It could.
No.
It
It
could.
could,
You
couldn't
could
it?
mount that exactly on the same truck that we were wanting to purchase, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Mr. Little, you'll have your final capital spread today, right?
Today.
Okay, so
It'll
we'll
be on
have
your desk
that.
today.
We'll just look down there and see what we see in price. All right, so,
When-
but
when are
we'll
y'all-
have
when are we
the,
gonna be down there? Is it?
we gotta be there in the morning.
I've got to be down there tomorrow on legal business. Mr. Keenan and I do, so I may run over and meet with you all when we get done.
Okay.
So anyway, JJ, is that everything you told us about you got over there?
I've got another thing, I've got a horse trailer up there from the animal shelter. Been up there a couple of weeks, and I apologize, we ain't had time to get it in and get the winch and stuff on it that they're needing, but get it as soon as possible.
And we need to do something with that pickup that we were gonna give to the fire department, or we're gonna give it old solid waste truck.
It's the one that is,
Click, 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 click.
yeah, really bad shape.
Who's the one?
What fire department was wanting?
Pond Creek.
Huh? Pond Creek?
Is it even worth having?
Well, I reckon they're gonna take Kit and another that they've got and make a truck.
What we have to do that, Frankie? Can we?
All you have to do is just declare that you're gonna give it to another public agency. You don't have to declare it surplus or anything.
Who asked me about that? Somebody asked me
Court
about
order saying that you're gonna give it to, and as long as it's another public agency.
What model truck is it?
It's an 09.
Oh, nine. What model?
It's
Chevrolet,
Chevy.
2500.
500.
Single
Chevrolet?
cab.
Larry.
Is
Larry is, it's his fire department that requested it.
Is there a motion to transfer this 2009 Chevy 2500 that we've had all these issues with to the Upper Pond Creek Fire Department? Got a motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robertson. Any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. So that's taken care of.
Hey,
Good luck
Jay.
with it, Larry.
Hey, JJ.
We appreciate your willingness to get it off our hands.
JJ, where we stand at on Noah's truck?
Huh?
Noah Case's truck at Robson Creek, the Ford.
That's the one we still like, we got it in the garage, putting the wiring harness in now.
Huh? Two up there from Robson Creek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying we need 6 pickup, 2,500.
I don't know what way are we gonna go? What way are we gonna go? Cause you can look at some cabin chassis too. It's single, 4-wheel drive, single rear axle, 4-wheel drive. You can put which. That's what I'm saying. I mean, if you're looking, there's no sense in going down there and buying or looking at 6 with beds on them when you want to go 6 with flat beds.
Well, they got some flat beds down there.
We need to move on here. We got a little issue we got to deal with. I think some of our members some of our audience is getting a little bit of leg weary, so I think we need to take a restroom break. That's what I'm trying to say. It's bad when you start getting texts like that. Anyway, we've been here going 3 hours now. We can revisit this if you all need to stay around. Larry, do you have anything? JJ, anything else? Mr. Fanning? Ms. Thacker? Ms. Hall? Ms. Vanover? Ms. Goff? Lisa, we appreciate having you up here today. Ms. Thacker, you have anything? Mr. Ratliff? Morley? Kaiser? Benson? Daggett? Preacher, you got anything? I know. We've heard from him enough today. All right. At this time, we need a motion to enter into executive session for discussion of personnel and potential litigation or actual litigation. Mr. King, would you please read the Kentucky Revised Statute?
KRS 61-810 subsection C and F. Today we need to discuss specific personnel matters, and we do have one issue regarding pending litigation we need to discuss in executive session today.
Is there a motion for executive session?
Motion.
Commissioner Tackett, second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Booth. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes, we are in recess for executive session. Is there a motion to exit or adjourn from executive session? A motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tackett. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. Mr. Maynard, do you have personnel recommendations?
Yes, Judge. There are two items for approval. One is approval to accept Donna Mullins' resignation, effective 1/13/19, and approval to move Scott Mounds from Road Lot 2 to Road Lot 1 in the same position and at the same rate of pay.
That is my motion and my personnel recommendations. Is there a second? Second. We have a second by Commissioner Robertson. Is there any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. It brings us to Mr. King. Do you have anything?
I've got one brief matter, Judge. Mr. Kaiser had approached me, and I think that you may be aware of this. Charles Meek, who is the pastor of the Faith Tabernacle Church at Majestic, is interested in leasing a piece of property that the county owns. As I understand it, it's directly adjacent to the church and is unused, and he wants to lease that as a parking lot for the church. I have drafted a lease agreement that the court has done in the past with churches for the same purpose. The only change that I have made, I've got it being a year-to-year lease with a 30-day cancellation clause, and I've also added a clause indicating that the lease cannot be assigned, and I have that for the court to review and potential approval.
Is there a motion to, and this may be something that Commissioner Booth wants to look at, is there a motion to lease an area adjacent to Faith Tabernacle Church at Majestic, to the church to be used as parking for the amount of $1 per year? This is property that we acquired through flood mitigation or something along those lines. I don't think it can be built on, but I think it could be used for parking lot legally. We did talk to Mr. Kaiser. I met with the pastor about it, and I think it's a good thing to do. They're using it some now. We just need to make it legal and let them, the pastor, Charles Meek, I think will be a good steward of the property. So is there a motion to approve the lease with Faith Tabernacle Church?
I'll make that motion. Anytime a church needs room for parking, I think it's a good thing, so.
We need more people in churches is what we need. So we have a motion to approve the lease with Faith Tabernacle Church with Commissioner Booth. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Robertson. Is there any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. And I'm going to go ahead and sign this, Mr. King, for you to execute. And we'll have Mr. Meek come over, and we'll need to get this to Lisa so we can record a copy of it in the minutes and also probably in the clerk's office, I would think.
I'll get with Mr. Kaiser. He's been in touch with Mr. Meek, and I'll have him bring him in to sign the document.
All right. Thank you for getting that done. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Judge, I need to make one clarification, and we probably need another vote. I said 1/13/19 for Donna Mullins' effective resignation. It's 2020. So we just need to make an approval to accept her resignation effective 1/13/2020.
Is there a motion to clarify, let's do this, is there a motion to clarify the date of the personnel record to 2020 as opposed to 2019?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Robertson. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. Don't feel bad. I signed a check this morning and put 19 on it too, so. I'll do that till about March. Judge Hickman, do you have anything?
Yes, Judge, very quickly. Solid waste bills for the first quarter of 2020 have been mailed. They went in the mail, I think it was on Friday. I encourage everybody to look at the back of their bill as there are new payment options, and those options have changed. And this is just the first quarter billing. So there'll be 4 billings. January, March will be the first billing. April to June the 2nd, July to September the 3rd, and October to December the 4th billing. The payments can be made monthly, quarterly, or still yearly. So if you choose to go ahead and pay in this first quarter for the entire year, we need that by March 31st. So billings for that first quarter, you'll not be considered to be past due until after the last day of the quarter. So it's very simple. Pay all 3 months if you choose to pay quarterly by the last working day of the quarter, and so forth for the next 3 quarters, and you still can pay yearly. That's not a problem. So I'm going to read this just for the sake of the record. Delinquent and unpaid solid waste bills will be placed on the property tax, as has been happening in the past. And our holiday schedule is as follows. Garbage will not be collected on Martin Luther King Day, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving, Thursday and Friday, and Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So that's all I have, Judge.
Well, we have a special guest that just joined me up here. So, Lawson, why don't you go back there and sit with Papa? We'll be down here in just a minute, okay? Somebody's hungry, I think. All right. Judge, thank you. And I just would like to point out is that there is no rate increase for the 2020 calendar year, the garbage rates. And that's what this court said after last year, that at least for the remainder of this term, we did not envision any additional rate increases. And we hope and pray that we can stick to that. We plan on it. But there is no rate increase this year, just like we didn't raise property taxes last year. We're trying everything we can to be good stewards of the taxpayer money. And I just want to make that very clear. No rate increases this year for solid waste. No property tax increases last year. So,
Judge, also commercial will be billed monthly. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. Now we have Pike County Commissioners' comments, and we'll start with District 1 Commissioner Ronnie Robertson.
I just want to thank everybody that works for this county. I know it's been a tough last year, but we've got good people that's with us here on this court, works for this fiscal court. I just thank all of you for doing a good job. Appreciate it.
District 2 Commissioner Jason Tackett.
I just want to thank the people of this county and the employees of this county, because a lot of people don't realize what all they do for this county and for the taxpayers. And another thing is that, we was elected by the people to work with whoever was in office, and we will continue doing that too. That's all.
Commissioner Tackett, thank you very much. District 3 Commissioner Brian Booth.
I'd like to thank all of our employees. I think they're doing a good job. We have got through a year, starting in a new year. Hopefully everything goes real good this year. And let's just kind of remember our country as a whole and our neighboring state of Virginia with all the issues they're having with our Second Amendment right. And one of the things I have, Judge, is over at Hardy, I think Paul might address that a little bit. We've got a little roof issue also over there at the one of our the big shed there by the pool.
We're getting a lot of calls over for reservations over at that Hardy Picnic Shelter, and we can't take none till what we decide to do on who's going to take the pool over, or what do we need to do on it,
we're gonna reach out to the gentleman that we've got.
Cannot take none right now until we figure what's going to do.
We got to make sure we get somebody to run it.
I'll be talking to him this evening. You want me to have him come over?
Can you have him come over later this week, or I've got depositions Friday. I'll probably see him
Probably
Monday.
first of next week.
First next week. Why don't we have him come over and let's sit down and talk to him?
Okay.
And we're gonna have to put a roof on that building for long. We got shingles blowed off everywhere. We've got a price a while back, I believe about $8,500.
But, I mean, that's just a problem we're having around the county. A lot of this, when you build infrastructure, and this is something I explained when I was in the legislature to some of the members of the prior court. When you build something, it's not just the cost of building it, it's the cost of insuring it, heating it, cooling it, and maintaining it in perpetuity. And, we've got a lot of this infrastructure. Is that on the capital plan that we had, that you put together? So at the next court meeting, we'll undertake that, and hopefully we'll have an opportunity to speak to the gentleman that may be interested in leasing it, and we may be in a better position to know. It's going to have to be contracted out, I think. I don't see how we could run it with county employees.
Yeah. It seemed like it worked out pretty good last year on.
Well, if we can do it, we're going to open Phelps back up and Hardy both, so.
Yeah, and that building, I think, that building's built back, in the 70s?
Yes, I'd say late 70s.
So I have a question. When we don't own the property where the Virgie Pool's at. When that school shut down,
We sold the pool. We didn't own it. Yeah, we don't own nothing up Virgie now.
Well,
I wonder how that ever happened, that pool was built and the county never had a permanent lease or something on it.
I don't know.
I guess Wrights bought it, didn't they?
Yeah, Wright's bought it.
Is that something we might could talk to them about?
I mean, I don't know if they'd be willing to lease it back to the
I can
county.
speak to Josh.
I don't even know if that pool could be opened up or
I
not.
don't know.
It was built back the same time Hardy was. It's probably one of the better pools Virgie was.
I don't think they filled it up.
It was always a great thing growing up. Fabian, you worked there, didn't you? Yeah. I wouldn't have felt real safe with you being a lifeguard.
Did you do a
run good numbers.
Fabian, did you ever do a cannonball off the high?
Me and Fabian used to.
I've got one question, Paul, and you may know this. I've had a few calls that we turned the voting building over up at Mouth of Hellier.
Hellier.
Yes, and I've got some calls saying that is they have parties like a community center for the Hellier area. Is that right? I mean,
no, they're not supposed to be having parties. They're supposed to have a giveaway on.
No. In the past, that was kind of like a community center for that area.
Yes.
Was it rented? I mean, did people rent it?
People rented it, and they said that I don't know if they kind of, instead of it, they're in one room, they're in the whole thing or whatever. You might want to look into that, Paul.
And I know it's been a while since we've had any calls on that.
Right.
Or anything on that old building.
Well, from what I understand, they just went to Kenneth Robinson for that. Is that?
It never was rented much that I remember.
It was the little guy that probably took care of it.
May have been. I've had some calls saying that they.
Take care of it now, yes.
I mean, just check in and see what the issue is, and that way the next court meeting
Well, we know we let him take it over to give away.
Right.
If he can put his stuff in part of it, and
He just had a food pantry or something, giveaway stuff.
It was a giveaway.
Help the needy.
we still should be able to use the big park, the big room,
Okay. Like I said, I just got a few calls saying that I guess they can't go in there and use it no more, or they don't use it, or they don't have. I don't know the whole situation. I've not been up there yet.
A few years, most of us been for voting. It's about all we use that building for.
Okay. Well, just like I said, just check into it and see what, and we'll discuss a little more about it in the next court meeting. Thank you, Paul.
Anything else? Commissioner Booth, you have anything? All right. Briefly, my comments. This is the start of a new year. We're having a lot of issues that are coming up. I think if you've tuned into this, you've heard a lot of talk about the needs that we have in the county, whether it's equipment, repairs of the Hardy Park. I mean, it's just a lot of money. And this is a serious, serious job. And I told somebody, I love doing this job. I love it a lot more than I ever loved being state senator. But it's also about 1,000 times more difficult than any job I've ever had. When you come in and you sit down, and we've worked so hard to trim cost, at one time, the county, I believe, had over 300 employees. Is that a correct statement, Mr. Stacy? How many? 319. Ms. Robinson said 325. So we're at 209. 209 employees to run a jail, to take care of our public works with more than 100 pieces of property, to take care of somewhere near 1,200 miles of county roads, to pick garbage up for more than 20,000 residential and commercial customers. And we have done everything we can to be good stewards of the taxpayer money. And like I said earlier, none of us have take-home vehicles. I've never had a county vehicle on my property. We are trying to set a different example. And there's some folks that will go on Facebook and make, outrageous statements. But the facts are the facts. And you can't hide from that. We are doing things differently than they've ever been done in this county before. We don't always agree. You heard us today. We don't always agree on even how we deal with the equipment situation. But we're working together to try to move the county forward under some very difficult times. The projections for coal severance tax over the next biennium are abysmal. In 2012, the state collected $330 million in severance tax, coal severance tax. Half of that came back to the counties. This next year, it's going to be around $46 million. The following year, the estimate's about $39 million. This year, this fiscal year, we budgeted $1 million, and we'll probably end up $300,000 or $400,000 short. So as we move forward, as we're losing population, as the coal severance tax continues to decline, as we have an aging population that can't withstand more property tax increases, we're going to have to do things different than they've ever been done. And one example is using these pickup trucks with the easy dumps. Half the cost of a mini packer. We didn't know if the employees would like it. Now we actually find out they like it better. It's something that should have been looked at years ago. We switched our insurance. And as you can see, we're doing everything we can to make sure that we're spending what money we have wisely. But when we sit down here and you sit in this chair and you have a bill list handed to you that's almost $1.9 million, now think about that. That's for 1 month. There's not one penny of payroll included in that. There's not one penny of employee benefits like our employer contributions to CERS and that. So this is a really serious problem that we're taking care of. And I hope that people realize that when our questioning of the clerk and our scrutiny of the clerk was nothing personal, I think every member of this court has respect for Ms. Taylor. We're getting ready to adjourn. I was under the impression that the clerk was going to bring that budget back up. We'll be happy to have a special call meeting at her convenience to acknowledge that budget. But all this court's asking is, before we consider any kind of supplement, is that she realize the savings that we know that can be realized on the insurance side, and to factor in the fee increases that the legislature passed. She didn't pass those, in all fairness. We didn't pass those. The legislature raised more than 60 fees, and it would be fairly easy, in my opinion, to figure out how much potential revenue that would generate. There may not be a $60,000 shortfall. There's no reason to lay anybody off. The simple fact of the matter is, if there is a $60,000 deficit, it could be covered by simply switching insurances and looking at those excess fees. And if the clerk can't balance the budget after doing those two things, I think every member of this court will be amenable to trying to help with that situation. There were some folks that asked, well, if you subsidize the sheriff, why shouldn't you subsidize the clerk? And I have a lot of good friends that work in the clerk's office. They do, but you can't compare the work in the clerk's office to what our sheriff's office does. I think that the law enforcement and public safety function is much different than the function of the clerk's office. And people have a right to disagree with that. It doesn't mean the clerk's office isn't important. It just means with the limited resources we have that we're asking other county officials to do what we're doing, and that's to try to save money. And I don't think that's unreasonable. And we will be happy to address that at the earliest opportunity. I want to thank several people. This is a really hard job. And I knew when we took over that it was going to be a hard job. But we've got a really dedicated staff, and I think this is the best staff that this county's had in a long time. We've not hired politicos. I want to thank Judge Hickman because he gets into the weeds on these issues. And last week I asked him and Mr. Stacy and Mr. Maynard to go down to the clerk's office and dig into this issue, and they did. And we came up with some answers, and we got some clarification that we needed. And I think the court deserves that. I think the members of this court, before they're asked to make a decision, before I'm asked to make a decision, we should have accurate information. I don't think that's too much to ask from anybody. And I don't have any doubt that things may have been done a certain way in years past. We're just asking that they be done the correct way. Do we make mistakes? Absolutely. I make mistakes every day. And I hope that I learn from those mistakes. But there's a lot to digest in this job, and these guys here, they don't stop working. We get phone calls day and night. The other night, Commissioner Tackett and I both were called out because there was a tree down, and actually the state police post called the wrong person. Instead of calling Fabian, they called a former road commissioner, even though they had all of our numbers. We are going to work, hopefully this week, to have an on-call system. We had a problem with some of our road foremen. Fabian called 3 road foremen out and couldn't get a hold of them. And they're salary positions, and they understand. They have county cell phones. They understand that that is a position that when they may be called out because of inclement weather, some kind of natural disaster, something may happen. There may be a tree fall, maybe a rock slide, an embankment failure. And if those individuals that are in those positions are not willing to be on call as a salaried employee that they are, then we will have to look at other options or other personnel changes. And I want to make sure that that's worked out this week. I would like a meeting set up coming up with Judge Hickman, any of the commissioners. That we can't have a quorum, obviously, but if one of the commissioners wants to come, and yourself, so we can look into that. I want to make sure that we provide the best customer service. I want to thank Mr. King, because, not only does he help me hold the fort down in my private practice, he's one of the smartest lawyers you'll find anywhere, and I appreciate all the work he's done on the RCC Big Show litigation and all the other litigation that the county's involved in. And it's, he's working 2 full-time jobs just like I am, and I appreciate that, Kevin. Thank you very much. And I think that's doesn't go unnoticed. And last, I want to thank the commissioners. This week, we went down and had a meeting with Secretary Jim Gray in Frankfurt to discuss. He's the new Transportation Cabinet Secretary. We're already reaching out to the new administration to try to get help for Pike County. There's a lot of issues that we need. One of the issues we're working on is the Wolf Pit Industrial Site. We met with Secretary Gray, his Chief of Staff, and also Mary Holbrook, who's the District 12 Chief Engineer. So we're doing everything we can to reach out to state officials to make sure that we maximize every contact, every resource we can for the people of this county. And we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to operate the county more transparently than any administration in the history of this county. If we can be of help, all you have to do is call us. I would prefer that you not try to reach me on Facebook because I don't monitor it always. We've had people send messages and I don't see them for several days. The number to the judge's office is 432-6247, and the commissioner's office is 432-6230. If you have any problems, feel free to give us a call. We did see somebody send a message in that there is a problem on Powell's Creek, that the road is breaking off, and there's some issues up there, so you might want to send a road foreman up there to take a look at that this week as well. All right, if there's nothing else to come before the court, gentlemen, do y'all have anything else today? You'll have a safe trip going down to meet. What I do mention is that the commissioners are going down to meet with Ag Commissioner Ryan Quarles this evening at 4:30. I want y'all to get out of here, be safe, and I appreciate y'all taking the opportunity to go down there and meet with him on some economic development opportunities. With that being said, we need a benediction. Mr. Ratliff, would you like to say the benediction for us?
May we bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we come before you once again. Father, we thank you for these elected officials. Father, we ask that you watch over them, that you help them make the best decisions. Father, we know we have sickness in this county right now, and we ask for you to extend your healing hand to all the people who are sick out there. Father, these things we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Is there a motion for adjournment? Motion from Commissioner Robertson, second by Commissioner Tackett. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson? Yes. Commissioner Tackett? Yes. Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. We are adjourned.